Good morning, good evening, or afternoon for whatever time zone you may be in. Thank you so much for joining us this morning here on Voice Uganda Radio. I am your host, Miss Brenda, along with the Honorable Zoe Bakoko and Madam Dorothy, who will be joining us later on this morning for Freedom at Hand here on Voice Uganda Radio. So we always appreciate you for spending the first part of your Sunday with us, and some of you it's the latter part of your Sunday, but we always appreciate it. We have a great show planned. We're doing a 3-hour show today. Um, Thank you so much for your patience with us last week. You know, like we say here at Voice Uganda Radio, the radio is not the only part of the movement here. We have meetings. We have so many other things that are in the works that will sometimes pull us away from you, our listening audience. But always remember that you can always go out to YouTube, type in keyword Voice of Uganda Radio, and a lot of our shows are uploaded out there. So you can always go out there and listen to some of your favorite shows or shows that you may have missed. And you may want to share that information with others too, that we are out there on YouTube. Keyword Voice of Uganda Radio, and you can pull that up at any time and listen to any of your favorite shows. But we do appreciate you, and a special thanks out to my California audience this morning because it is 4 o'clock in the morning there. It's 4 o'clock a.m., so those are some dedicated people that get up at that time there in California to be a part of the show this morning. I want to go ahead and bring Zoe on in to say good morning to our audience this morning. Hey, Zoe, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Miss Brenda. Good morning, all the listeners. I'm just excited again today. Last week we really missed you, and I'm looking forward to this opportunity today so that we can have a very fruitful discussions. Good morning.
Yes, we can. And good morning to you too, Zoe. You know, a lot of times we get emails and people call us and are talking about what are we doing, how are we moving forward. And let me just say, we are always working and we're always moving forward. And it's always a good thing here, not only at Voice Uganda Radio, but the Federal Alliance for Democracy and Development in Uganda as well. So let's talk about this celebration on victory there in Uganda with Brenda Nabakenya and her being voted into office there. What an energy, what an excitement for the Ugandan people at such a time as this.
Oh, Brenda, this is a very exciting moment, not only for the people in Uganda. It's actually for the diaspora and for all of us, particularly in the freedom, everyone who is interested in freedom right now, particularly Fadu Freedom, like our FUF, Freedom Unity Front, and all the opposition in Uganda. I think this teaches us one lesson. The lesson that when you come together and when you unite, your strength is phenomenal. You can imagine what happened in Luero. That's why my mind was just, I couldn't speak, because look at all the national machinery, the machinery of the NRM, which was unleashed on Luero. Yeah. First, you have all the ministers going down there. You have the Minister of Transport, Biandala. You have the Minister of Information, Rosemary. You have Namayanja. You have the Minister in charge of presidency, who apparently recently, in this confusion in NRM between Museveni and Mbabazi, Todwong, who also, everybody was actually in Luero. And the purpose was to show the power of government and to show them that, look at all these ministers who are coming in, even from the ministers who were appointed from Luero, the traditional Luero area, to show that the government cares about you. All these sons and daughters of yours who are appointed ministers are part of your national cake. But the most interesting part was when the Museveni's younger brother, Salim Saleh went to Luero this time. Because he has been to Luero so many times. Luero is the heartland or the marker of NRM. That's where the Bush War was orchestrated. That's where it was fought. That's where they won it. Oh. And so for them, nobody can win in Luero except NRM, because they are the ones who who liberated Uganda, and it was done in Luero. And so when Salim Saleh went this time, because both of them, him and his brother, they have huge ranches in Luero where they keep their cattle. And that is where Salim Saleh, according to his words, is going to retire and take care of his cows. But it was only this time when he was going to buy votes, handing out coffee seeds and going to talk about NRM's achievements and all the things they have done in 30 years to make Luero, to repay Luero for all the things that population in Luero did. They died, they suffered, they were tortured because of the war. And so they had to pay them back. It was the heartland. He's going to pay Luero back by retiring there with all these riches. He has all the cows. And then for him, the realization came. And this was his statement, that I cannot believe the poverty levels in Luero. I cannot believe that the people are this very poor, and that some people in NRM have betrayed his brother. They have betrayed his brother because they have been stealing all the money, and they have not even enriched the people. The programs have not reached the population in Luero. It was only this time when he was going to look for votes for NRM that he made a realization that the people in Luero were poor. And so when Nabu Kenya stood up as the voice of the people, one of those poor people, like the brother, you remember the president was there too, as always, to show his power, that I'm here, I will throw out the envelopes, I'll give you the bags of money. This stupid little girl, that is what she called Nabu Kenya. What she didn't know was stupid little girl Nabu Kenya is part of that poor population in
community,
the world. Is part of that community and is the voice of that community. And she is only 30 years old. And look here, Museveni started his war before Nabu Kenya was ever born.
Wow. And so you're telling me this is the birthplace of the NRM, and this is still, it's just as forgotten as the rest of Uganda.
It is just as forgotten as the rest of Uganda. Everywhere in the rural areas, you find biting poverty. And so that, and for Museveni, that is a control too, because if the people are very poor, he can dangle his money, his brown envelopes, he can dangle his sacks of money and buy them off. And these people will always be begging him, prostrating in front of him, crawling to him for everything.
Well, let me ask you this. I think the people have risen up now to say, the dangling of the money, the trying to pay them off, is only a temporary fix for a problem that once the elections and everything's over, they all leave and they never return again until they have to come back. I think the people are finally starting to wake up and see this, and that's what Nabu Kenya represented for the people.
Absolutely. I was bringing you all this background to show how these people can deceive. How on earth Museveni and his brother are always in Luero? They have agents in Luero. How can they say that for the first time they realized that there was poverty in Luero? And yet the statistics.
Wait a minute. So what you're saying is this is a place that they visit often, so they were aware of this way before the election ever came, and they made these statements. Is that what you're saying?
Totally aware. They are totally aware. How can you have your ranch and all your cows and everything in the middle of this community, and you always drive or you fly. If you fly in a helicopter or he's driving by road, he sees what is on. Brenda, when we were driving with you this week around, we have seen what is on the countryside. You can see glaring poverty. You have been to Uganda. You can, when you drive, you see the glaring poverty in that country. And so for them, they were blind. They could only see their own personal riches. They couldn't see that the poor people were poor. How?
Can I say this? This would upset me as a citizen or resident in that area for a president and his people to parade themselves into my town, make these statements when I am aware that they come there all the time and they know this. I can understand why the landslide was so big for Brenda King.
Perfect, because how long can you deceive people? Every time you come and you lie, people say, that we cannot accept. It is lies. And Brenda said, I am you. I am one of you.
Yes.
I will be your voice. We cannot accept these lies anymore because the NRM has been lying to us for how long? And Museveni has been lying to us for how long? They used us. This is the heartland of NRM, and in any case, that should have been, that was their words too. Luero will be the role model for the entire country. The poor, they claim they are poured a lot of money in Luero, so that Luero should be really the role model out of poverty. So that everybody in Luero, each and everybody in Luero, nobody should be living below poverty level. So what is wrong? What has gone on in these 35 years since Museveni set foot on Luero? What happened?
Well, exactly.
So the people are like, no, our lifestyle has completely gone down the drain. They were better when Museveni came and started that war. People had their animals, they had their stuff, their property. It was all erased and destroyed during those 5 years. He decided to fight that war.
Yes.
And they ate all the community's animals, all the cows, all the goats, all the chickens.
So for my American audience, let me just ask this question. So when we say they're investing in this region and in this area, the investments are not there for the people. The investments are basically for their own purpose and their own good.
Absolutely. They have decided to grab land there, and now they have put all these cows, and it is actually their own retirement investment. That was Mr. Ssali's words. He said, I intend to go and retire in my farm and take care of my cows in Luero. My brother had better step aside and not even continue, because the people who work around him have betrayed him. How can you expect anything else from the people in that region if they are living day to day and they're seeing this wealth compile, but not for them, only for those who are ruling the country right now? I think that Brenda Nabaganya is a blessing to the people there. She is. She's the voice. She's actually a protest vote to tell Museveni, NRM, and his brother, all those people who were going down to Luero to lie again, this time to the people that we are not taking your lies anymore. You can bring all your little coffee seeds, you can bring your stupid envelopes. The words which Museveni said were actually reverted back to him, because the people said, call us stupid little dogs, call the girl a stupid, silly little girl, call her everything, but you will swallow your words when we cast our vote. And that
because this is a huge slap.
Tell people, cast your vote. Go out and cast your vote. That is the first bullet which can hit somebody down. And look at how they did it. A landslide victory. And for us, in FUF, and for us in FADU, this shows, this is what, Brenda, you, me, Dorothy, what we tell people on this radio every day, and it gives me strength that we are doing a good job. because, look, people are listening. They are listening to the things we have been saying and the things we have been analyzing. This is also a reflection of how the people are being treated in Kampala. How the Lord Mayor has been denied to get into his office 2 years just because you are a Democratic Party candidate. And you can see how Nabu Kenya, a DP candidate in Luero, won.
I know, and what a victory it is for young girls in the universities, young women who are wanting to come up in the politics arena there in Uganda. It speaks volumes because the courage in which she had to have to stand against this opponent with all of this opposition against her. I really, how do you think the people in that area feel today? I mean, they've got to feel a sense of victory. Not just for her, but for all of them, because they stood behind her and they cast their vote, like you said, united and standing as one.
Mm-hmm. Trust me, Miss Brenda, if the Luero people did not sacrifice their lives and their property and everything they had, Museveni would not be in power. And so for him to have treated them the way he did was the most cunning and deceptive and the horrific thing that any human being could repay people who lost everything to put you where you are. Now you are worth billions of dollars, your family is worth billions of dollars, and these poor people live under $1 a day. Just imagine, you can explain that to the American audience, that these people in Luero, most of the people in Uganda, over 80%, actually these families of 10, 14, 8, they live, their entire expenditure is under $1 per day.
Well, let me tell you one
like this.
Yeah, and let me tell you, one of the problems my American audience is going to have, I'm sure I'll get a lot of emails on this one, is there is no public office in the United States of America, including our president, that he could walk away or walk around a billionaire. It just isn't, that type of wealth does not accumulate from being in an office of service, serving the people like that. So when you tell me that this man is a billionaire or has billions, that just, and the people there in the region in which made the NRM what it is today live on less than $1 a day. It's time for change. What do you think of this election? What do you think everything that has happened here with her election into office and everything? How do you feel that should spark those of us in the diaspora to get on board now and start to unite and become one to make the force outside even as strong as it's becoming on the inside of Uganda?
I think all the different groups in the diaspora should come together. We should unite, and just like I know in different ways we are already uniting, in working together on this radio, in doing a lot of things together, we are already uniting. And we should, all the different groups, we should come together, because we have seen the power of unity, the power of one in what happened in this election in Luero. How DP, FDC, UPC, everybody who was in opposition decided, Luero is just the heartland, and we cannot afford to lose it. And the only way we can retain this seat is unity. And if we field one candidate, that is it. And you see how it worked. Museveni went to Luero very angry. There was actually more candidates in NRM. The opposition only had one candidate, and that was Miss Now Kenya. And because they knew she, in the less than 2 years she had been in parliament, she had performed very well. She had shown that she is the voice of the people of Luero, and she is an emerging voice for opposition, because the opposition. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I tell you one thing. I I worried a little bit because there's so much fear in the country to step forward, to stand together, to vote the issues that need to be voted. There was so much fear in the country that this gives me hope for a new Uganda, because what this shows me is the people are starting to stand up for themselves to say enough is enough. And I think with that type of courage coming forward, just in this election, I'm hoping that it will be contagious and it will spread throughout Uganda so people can start to see the power of the vote and the power of standing together.
The power of one, the power of the vote. You cast your vote, you go, that is your voice, that is your opinion, that's what you stand for. And if you go there and cast your vote and don't feel the curse, because the fear has not been that people could not cast their vote. The fear is that, you know what, whether I cast my vote or I don't cast it, they will rig it anyway. But the opposition coming together, and then the former vice president, you know, my colleague with whom I work, he's a medical doctor too, Professor Gilbert Bukenya, coming to stand with the opposition. He is still the chair of the NRM, not the caucus.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
He's still the chair.
Yeah. Let me go ahead. We have a call coming in, Honorable, and I'm going to go ahead and take this call. Caller, introduce yourself and come on in.
Yes, good morning, Miss Brenda, and good morning, Honorable Bako. My name is Musana, and as always, I'm so excited that this program is on, and we missed so much last Saturday. Yes,
thank you.
Talking about yes, I'm so happy you're back on the air.
Thank you.
You guys are talking about what has happened. Yes, what has happened in Luel. According to Museveni, he has no end game in his political adventure. At the start of the game and the end of the game to him is the same. Museveni, after when he was after he attended Nelson Mandela's funeral, Museveni himself said there would be no more raps for him, meaning he was going to retire. And as I quote, he said, this is his own words, I have traveled a lot in Africa and abroad. I do not want to be like our neighbor, meaning I think Kenya. I do not want to be like our neighbor with retired presidents so old they can no longer run a kilometer. And here we are. This man is spending $6 billion shillings to popularize himself. Museveni never say anything, usually he says the truth by accident. Now it is a shame for Museveni to see that this young lady, Brenda Nabukenya, came to the scene before, after Museveni became the president. This lady is very, very young, and she has taken the bull by the horns and defeated the entire machinery of Museveni, because this man is a liar. I don't understand why Museveni himself or anyone else should say Uganda is gifted by nature. Gifted by nature in what? In producing dictators? Corruption in Uganda is no longer a crime. It has become a business. And this is one of the things Museveni fought to eliminate in Uganda. The police has been militarized not to defend the nation or the people of Uganda, but to defend one family. And if you remember this man, Museveni, as I always say, I detest this man. This man has killed so many people, and he has refused to give up power. After Garanga's death, when his chopper crashed, I want people to understand, these are exactly the same thing Museveni said after Garanga died. The reason I'm bringing this up, I want people to know Museveni has been killing people, and sometimes he gives hints. But we never really look hard at what the man is saying. This is exactly what this man said after the death of Garanga, his best friend. He said, some people say, this was when he was quoting about the death. I'm doing this so that people should know we are dealing with a murderer who is our president, who is the commander in chief. Museveni said himself, some people say accident. It was an accident. It may be an accident. The helicopter was very well equipped. This was my helicopter, the one I'm using all the time. I'm not ruling out anything. Either the pilot panicked or there was some side wind of the instrument, or either the instrument failed or there was an external factor. Now, Mr. President, you've been denying and telling lies. How do we know that there was an external factor? These are the same lies his brother is parading in Luel. And I'm very, very happy that the people of Luel have rejected this dictator. And I hope that the whole country should do the same, should emulate what has happened in Luel in order to get Museveni out. And Mr. Honorable Koko, when the verdict was read, or when the victory, when Brenda Nabukanya was announced the winner of the election in that area, Museveni himself said, I will not allow wrong people to take over this country. What did he mean, wrong people? I sincerely believe Museveni and his group, they are the wrong people. So anyone who thinks that Museveni is going to give up power come 2016 is deluding themselves, because Museveni loves power. Museveni has committed so much, a lot of murderers. Museveni has killed so many people, and there's no way this man is going to give up power. And I want people to know, all dictators are sustained in power by fear, chaos, and most of all, poverty. It is a shame that we are still here, 28 years or 29 years, we are still talking about one man. Fellow Ugandans, the balance sheet of failures to get rid of Museveni by us, Ugandans, is an embarrassment to us all. I don't care who you are. We have failed to get this man out of our midst for 30 years, and we know this man is a killer. I salute the people of Luelo for what they have done, and I hope the entire nation emulates what has happened in Luelo. Thank you so much, ladies, and welcome back.
Thank you so much, Musana. And you know what, Honorable, I want you to answer that question on the wrong people leading the country forward, because you were considered one of those wrong people simply because of corruption that you found. So elaborate on that just a little bit for me. Because you've been in cabinet with this man, you've been around this president, you've been in private quarters with this individual in a position where a lot of us have not been, and we don't know that side of him. So elaborate on that a little bit for me, if you will.
I think I want to thank our brother, my brother Musana. Yes. He used some selective word there, saying we never listen to Museveni and take the hints he puts in his words. You know, yes. When Museveni is talking about wrong people, what is he intimating? Museveni is trying to say, I am the right one, you are the wrong one. It's always the guilt card he wants to play. He wants to play a guilt card to say, you in the opposition are the wrong one. I in NRM is the right one. You in this is the wrong one. So he is the perfect one. Everyone else is wrong. And he likes to use those words to label people. In Kampala, all this momentum has been building. This is probably one of the ways Museveni is being told back off. Because look at what has happened with one of the most prominent Democratic Party, not a candidate, official, elected official, Rias Lukwago, in Kampala, elected as the Lord Mayor. And Museveni has stifled the young man. He's just like Nabukenya. He's 30-something years old. He's fit to be Museveni's son. And because Museveni labels him among the wrong people, he must not be a Lord Mayor of Kampala City, even though he was elected by the majority.
Yes.
You see,
Yes.
so this is actually a way to tell the public, the population is telling Museveni, back off, back off, because you cannot continue to lie to us again and again and again and stifle our son. Remember, Namkeng is from the Democratic Party too. And
Yes.
so here they have seen how the poor mayor has become a hostage and is arrested in his house, not even allowed, even when the judiciary has said no. Please allow the young man to go back to his office. He can only go to his office for less than an hour or something, and before you know it, Justice Kavuma has made a horrible ruling. I think that is the biggest mistake in his entire legal career.
Yes, because what do we really know about the woman who's sitting? Yeah, but what do we really know about the woman who is sitting in the seat of the Lord Mayor of Kampala City? And how can this election that just happened, how can it set the fire burning again in the direction of the Lord Mayor to maybe somehow help him retain his seat back in office?
I think if Museveni and his people have any iota of conscience in their bodies or bones or whatever, in their flesh or in their brain, they must now be going back to the drawing board. They have to know that Luwero's victory is actually the Kampala, what they have been doing to this party and doing to the Lord Mayor. Now the people in Luwero are like, thank you. You can use your police, your machinery, everything in Kampala City, but you can bring them here. We don't care. This is the area where people fought. And you have to remember, we are fighters. We may not have the guns. You may have the guns. You can bring your police. You can tear gas us. You can shoot us. But Museveni, we died. You know that. If you have forgotten, we will show you by the vote. And these young people, trust me, they have nothing to lose. All they gain is the victory and their country back.
Yeah, and the young
Museveni has forgotten. These young people never saw his brutal bush war. The impact. They never saw people being killed. They never saw the things being. All they see is the poverty and the destruction, which up to now you have houses which were shut down, and you still can see 30 years later. You can still see those houses which were shut down. Some of the walls still standing in the bushes. You can still see that. The young people can see that. You can tell them the story, but they haven't seen the real war with all the bullets flying. They can only maybe compare it to the brutality which Museveni is unleashing with his police. You know?
Yes.
When the country has a constitution and they are being told that the power belongs to the people. How can the power belong to the people when actually you are denying the people the opportunity even to vote? You come and force them and you call them the wrong people. How can you expect people to exercise their right when you are actually stopping them from voting the people they want?
Yeah. Now,
Kampala City is the example. It is the true example to show that Museveni, as he is with his corrupt ideas, to unite and lead Ugandans, he uses these empty phrases like the wrong ones in the Luwero by-election. So it is a resounding call to the Ugandans, get rid of Museveni and his dictatorship. But already the people in Luwero are saying no. And trust me, Miss Brenda, Ugandans in other parts like North, like the East, have already been saying no to Museveni. They were just warming. this particular thing will reignite what used to happen in the north. They have never been voting for Museveni except recently. And now they will see that the part of Uganda, which in spite of when all the other people were voting no, was voting yes, is now voting no, that actually reinforces the rest of Uganda. People are going to stand up.
Yes. Now, I am the right one, you are the wrong one. Reading between the lines of what the president is truly saying there. Was Musana talking about the anniversary of this 10-year death of this individual? Is that who he was referring to?
No, John Garang actually was he did get become the first president of South Sudan. He was the guy who fought for so many years so that South Sudan could get independence. And he trusted Museveni, and he thought Museveni was a friend. These are the things, these are the real things which show the true color of who Museveni is. Because he's not the guy to be trusted. You have somebody who, through all his resources were given to Museveni so that he could actually fight his war in all his support and everything. And this fight his death, I think, arose over a disagreement of the guy asking for accountability. Museveni and his lot don't want the word accountability. They never want anybody to raise the issue, where did this money go? The millions and millions of dollars which were given to this guy and his group, channeled through Museveni, and Museveni is like, I've helped you, you are now the president, what should you ask me that question? Of course, the helicopter, you heard Musana saying that this helicopter actually this helicopter, Museveni says, this was my helicopter. But was he in the helicopter at that time? Museveni put the lives of, just because of Garam, everybody else, the people who used to fly him, the little girl who used to give him tea, the protocol boy, the guy, a very nice young man, all those people, totaling to about 12.
Wow, so it's not just the president that was in there.
All these people died in that chopper crash. You cannot trust somebody like that, and he says it can be external factor. So what did he find out? What did he find out as the external factor or the internal factor or whatever it is? He knows exactly what happened to that helicopter because the guy went for the funeral, he drove. He never even flew. Why didn't he fly?
Yeah. Let me go ahead, and we got a call coming in, so let's go ahead and take this real quick, and we'll get back onto this. Hey, caller, go ahead and introduce yourself and come on in.
Okay. Good morning, Miss Brenda. Good morning, Miss Zoe, and the listeners. Thank you for having me today on this wonderful program, and I'm the activist from Manchester as usual.
Yes, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Miss Brenda, I really enjoy your programs, and I will miss you guys the last week that you were not on air. But anyway, we know that the struggle is continuing. Okay,
yes, it is, and thank you very much.
I've got two issues to talk about, and maybe a comment, because I'm rushing somewhere. First, I would like Miss Zoe Baskoko to bear with me, because he knows the history of Uganda. Miss Zoe Baskoko, my mom, because I think you are not to say you are not to say I think, but my mom. I've been listening to you saying voting people of Ruwelo, what. But as you stayed in that government of Museveni, to me, ever since I was born, ever since I was raised up, mind you, I saw the Museveni using the king, the present king of Uganda, to let us, the people from the central, to vote him. I've seen how the Electoral Commission is running the votes, saying this one will pass, this one will not pass. The bottom line to me is we as activists, we as people who want Museveni to get out of power, we must not tolerate such kind of things. Because, Miss Brenda, I was listening to Simba, Radio Simba, and the MP for Butambala, I think you know him, Ms. Zoe Bakoko, Mohamed Kivumbi. He said that we have all the by-elections that were staged. Most of them were won by the opposition. But at the end of the day, we've got nothing we are doing to our people. Our people, we are being voted. But at the end of the day, we cannot do anything. If you can go to Butambala right now, we used to have, Butambala was a stronghold of Muslims. We used to have schools like Kabasanda, Umeya, what again? There is this school. I forget some of the schools. But those schools, even the iron sheets right now, they are not there. In Luero, as I was talking, as it came up, there were some hospitals. These hospitals are not there. The highway where you use, the highway that you use, Miss Bakoko, to go to your home from Kampala, it's not like the one that Museveni uses to go to his home. So we must not jubilate. I don't know whether I'm on a right track, but to me, I can see that these people are bringing us to accept that through voting we can achieve something. And then when they bring our people to the understanding that they can achieve what they think, when it comes to the presidential voting, that's when they are going to rig. That's when they are going to stay in power. So we have to have a stand. We have to have a platform of informing our people that, okay, it's good to vote for your MPs and everything, but when it comes to presidential this and this, it's no. Because an MP is not going to draft a budget for Luero in order to do the hospitals, in order to pay the teachers, in order to help them, the mothers of Luero who are dying each and every day. I don't know whether I'm out of the topic or I'm just. I would like some few words to advise me so that I can go to my second point.
Go ahead, Zoe, and answer that, if you will.
You know, we are not. We celebrate Nabukenya. We have to celebrate her. Why are we celebrating her? We are celebrating her because I think, my brother, you know that very well. You are very right. All options must be on the table. That we can use voting, we can use whatever. But the fact is, for people to stand up. You have seen what has been happening in Kampala, where the mayor has been stifled. Who would have expected that a DP candidate would win in Luero? And so for me, we are celebrating the fact that Ugandans are beginning to stand up for themselves. And whatever option you are talking of, if the people are not willing to stand up and say no to Museveni, you cannot be able to win. And so for me, for the people, this is a true example to show that Ugandans in whatever way can stand up and say, we are tired, just like you and me and everybody else is showing. It's evidence to show that the Ugandans are tired, They want this. They wanted this guy out yesterday, and they want a new Uganda where they can rebuild themselves. They can rebuild their roads, where they can rebuild their health centers and health and hospitals, where they can rebuild their schools. Because Museveni is leaving that as it is, so that he can come around and keep on saying, you see, I'm going to do this. The 5 years passes. You see, I'm going to do this. People have woken out of the inertia. And so I think we do give credit to that. And I hear you. I'm perfectly with you that this guy has not done right by the people.
Yes, and to go along with that, so you can go ahead and go to your second point here. Mm-hmm. I see it as the timid not being intimidated anymore. Mm-hmm. I see them as rising up to say, you will no longer treat us this way. They will no longer have that timid personality, but, you know, they're standing toe-to-toe with their intimidator to say, we're not going to settle for this anymore. No matter how small the moves that she will be able to do in her position, she will still make progress in the direction of the people that voted her into power, I believe. And go ahead, caller, with your second point, because I know you said you were having to rush out here.
Okay. Before I go to my second point, what I expected from the Honorable Zoe was to highlight me more about the Electoral Commission, because Ms. Brenda, what we have to emphasize on is the Electoral Commission. The problem that we are having is the Electoral Commission and Museveni. When people coming up to show their grief, to show their voices, it's not a problem. Mark me, it's not a problem. But my problem is if we go on jubilating when we have won, and the very same commission, the Electoral Commission headed by Chigundu, the international community or the people next to us or the people observing our affairs, they will say, look, you guys, the very same commission is the one that came up and show up these results. But now, when they reach, because they will definitely reach the elections. So,
well,
I understand exactly what you're saying. Go ahead, Zoe, and comment on that, and I'd like to comment too, because I think we're going in the same direction.
Yeah, we are not endorsing the Electoral Commission here. You know what's going on. Everybody is continuing with the pressure that the Electoral Commission is not the right commission. And we know what they have done. And you saw how they even came out before they announcing the results. They told everybody, please, don't jubilate, don't celebrate, don't announce results. But I mean, they realized that in Luero, the fear was gone. And people, like Brenda just said, the intimidation was gone. Electoral Commission, which is being in the pockets of Museveni or not, police tear gassing people, all these brutalities and intimidation and creating fear for the people, that fear was gone. And so the people says, we have our victory here in our hands and we will carry it forward. And they did. And so for me, my brother, the real thing lies in, are the people still fearful and scared? No. Once that fear factor, which Museveni has been pushing down people's throats, is gone, from the people, the liberation will inevitably come, whether you like it or you don't like it. That's exactly what Museveni used to come to power. When the people were like, no more, and that is how he became the president. And for these 30 years, he has used that tactic. And now the people are saying, we don't care, no more fear. And if there's no more fear, we are going to have our victory. And we are going to liberate that country and all options on the table.
I know, and I think the same tricks that he has used to trick the people before, we're aware of those things now. We know these things. And Zoe just talked about all the people that were sacrificed on that helicopter for him to take the life of one person. This, the person that was running against Nabakenya could have been the sacrifice to show that maybe the elections are not rigged, so that when another election come along, they can do whatever it is they want to do. So we are very aware of the trickery. We're just saying that this victory empowers the people to continue to fight and go forward. But we understand and know that this man has a way of pulling the wool over our eyes.
Yeah.
and
he has a lot of things up his sleeve, but one by one we're removing them.
Exactly. I think we have another call coming through, Zoe, so let's go ahead and take this call. Hey, caller, are you there? Go ahead and introduce yourself and come on in. Do we have a caller there? Okay, we'll go ahead and go on. But yeah, just so he understands and knows, we celebrate this, Zoe.
I wanted to go to my second point, and I wind up, please.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. The second point is there are here in the diaspora.
I think, I don't know what that's coming in for. Go ahead and go on with your question, and we may have to take a break and reset ourselves here, but go ahead.
Okay, there are some people in the diaspora here who are lying to themselves that they are NRM representative. There is one guy in the U.S. by the name of, is it Semoju or something like that? Walusimbi, I think. Walusimbi, some, yeah. And then we have one here in the UK by the name of Asimwe. Miss Zoe and Miss Honorable Zoe and Miss Brenda, these guys are going to there was a talk show on one radio here in the UK yesterday. They were telling the people that the NRM have brought freedom of speech. The NRM have brought people to become rich. You can drive from Entebbe to Kampala, you can see the houses. You can see people going up and down, but especially people in diaspora, they are building their houses and everything. And as Professor Mwiru said, that the NRM taught us, that the NRM is a party of multi-ideology. He was 120% correct. These people, when they see the houses, they think that that is richness. When they see that people are overcrowded in the cities, they dream that this is richness. But they don't know what makes a country rich. When our sisters and brothers are unemployed, that one, it's not their business. So I totally don't understand. And I try to ask these kind of guys that, please, when you are on your payrolls, don't ever come here and trick us. Because we know you are on your payrolls, and you are the very same people who are making Museveni to stay in power for such a long time. Because you are lying to him. This poor old man, bear with me, Miss Brenda, he's being lied by these kind of fellas. They are going around telling him that Mzee, Omalako, Mzee, you are the one, you can stay, you understand? And the poor old man keeps on wasting his time, wasting all his money on these kind of people. If you can hear anybody, those Walusimbis and these whatever, I asked this guy, Miss Zoe, in the one in UK, I asked him, tell me what job are you doing? He told me he's a lawyer by professional. I asked him, are you having a law firm in here in UK, or you are just going around looking for jobs? He said, I'm looking for jobs. I told him, if the NRM is good,
that's good.
If the NRM brought peace and stability in Uganda, why can't you stay in Uganda? Why did you have to follow us? You came here for greener pasture because you can see it's a failed state. Question that I asked him, the guy was from Bushenyi. I asked him, Honorable Zoe, listen to this very carefully. The villages we used to have nurses. Those ones, they were not even that qualified, but they used to give birth to women. That very same guy his mom got birth in such a system. But right now, I told him that your very same wicked government brought our hospital to collapse. Imagine Mulago Hospital, by the time I was born, people used to come as far as Zambia is concerned. I was born in Masaka Referral Hospital. My mom used to be a nurse over there. We used to grow up, that hospital was, but if you go there, so these very same people, Miss Zoe Bakoko and Miss Brenda, we have to speak about them. They are going around confusing people. NRM is this, NRM is this, NRM is this. They must not bring their nonsense here.
Okay, and we will come back to that in just a few minutes. The beeps that you keep hearing, those are a lot of phone calls that we have coming in. So we're going to have to round off with you, but Zoe and I are very in tune with what you're saying, and we will address that. That's why we have a 3-hour program today, because we knew that there would be a lot of questions. Zoe, I'm going to go ahead and go to this other one because we're going to need to leave another phone call on hold. So to the activists, God bless you. The questions you have brought to our attention, we will answer them in greater length here in just a few minutes. Go ahead, caller. Introduce yourself and come on in. Caller, come on in. You're on the air.
Hello. My name is Mike Ogwell.
Come on in.
Yes.
Hello. Welcome to the program. I think we got an echo from you. You might have your radio or something up too loud, but if you can turn it down just a tad, that way we won't pick up the echo. And go ahead with your question.
Okay. I really don't have a question, but I am trying to answer a question with, I think Brenda asked, who are the wrong people? I wanted to elaborate to that or give that my idea about what that question or what that statement means. What the wrong people mean. There are 4 things here that the wrong people mean, or what Museveni means by wrong people. Number 1, according to him, wrong people are the people who don't agree with him, and he has their heads chopped off. These were done in Luero, and they are written in this book called Mustard Seed. Number 2, these are the people he describes as biological substances fit for extermination. And they were also exterminated in northern Uganda. Again, these are the people he describes as backwards. They are bankrupt in ideas. And they are non-NRM families. Then the next thing that I wanted to make a comment on is you are all talking and praising about removing Museveni by vote. Okay? Yes, I praise that lady for winning that vote, but to me this is insanity. You know the meaning of insanity? Or doing the same thing to expect a different result? Yes. No way. We have seen it for the last 27 years, trying to use the vote to remove Museveni. You can't do that anymore.
Well, we're not saying that, so please don't think that we think voting is going to get him out of office, because we are very aware that that is not going to happen. Celebrating this victory is one thing, but we don't in any way tie this back to the election that he thinks he can win in 2016. So continue on.
Okay. Just wanted us to be aware of that.
Yes, we are very aware of that.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
also,
you very
the last
much.
thing, maybe I do one last thing. During Museveni's time in power, 4 presidents surrounding Uganda, meaning President of Burundi, President Habyarimana of Rwanda, Kabila of Congo, and now John Garang of Southern Sudan. All of them, all their deaths point towards Museveni. So people, Americans, British, and everywhere in the world must be aware of how dangerous this man is.
Yes.
So to keep on maintaining him on power is just another way of saying, yeah, we have more deaths coming up. So this is something I wanted to add.
Yes, thank you so much for your call and for your comments. And that's true of what you're saying, because that's the very thing that Musana said this morning. Am I not right, Zoe, when he called in and said the person we're dealing with here? Go ahead, Zoe.
Yes, I think Mike is spot on. He's really spot on. And he has said it very, very well, that, this is a dangerous man. And Musana put it in the same way, a murderer, somebody whom we cannot trust. And we have, in these last few months, spoken about what this guy really is and exposing who he is. Because you can just see in this 1 minute what Mike has said. He says, if you look at around Uganda, and that is, I think you remember, Miss Brenda, when we talked about Museveni being an agent for exporting insecurity. He's going around, he's not only intimidating Ugandans, he's also intimidating the people around him into submission, so that he has people around him and he can go around doing whatever he wants. That's how he was able to go to Rwanda and do all those atrocities, and they staged the genocide unabated. They have been in Congo. Congo is the rape center in the entire Africa, and more than, I don't know how many people, the number of people who have died in Congo is even more than what happened in Rwanda. I think people put it to about 6 million people who have died in Congo. And now you have seen what's happening in Sudan as well. And so the human life and suffering that has been caused by this guy, not only in Uganda, but within the region, is not in the interest of any country's foreign policy. Not at all.
Yes, exactly. And Mike's still on the line with us. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to that before we take a break here?
No, I really appreciate it. Is this Brenda or Cassim?
Yes, this is Miss Brenda.
You are doing a great job. I come across this radio program just for the first time when Minister Joe told me about it yesterday. Please keep it up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your input on the show today. You are listening to Freedom at Hand with Miss Brenda and the Honorable Zoe Bakoko. We're going to take a 5-minute break here. We're at the top of the first hour. We'll get into the second hour here in just a few minutes. So we're going to take a short break.
Radio ekolaganira wamu n'ekibiina ekya Federalist Alliance of Democracy and Development in Uganda, FADU. Ebigendererwa by'ekibiina kino kuzza mirembe, enkolagana ey'awamu, obwenkanya, okuggyawo enkola y'omwana waani, n'okusosola mu mawanga, okutulugunya, okulya enguzi, ebikudde ejjembe mu Uganda. Era kirwanirira okuzza enfuga eya demokrasiya mu Uganda. Ekibiina kino kye kisookedde ddala okukubiriza buli muntu yenna okukyegattako awatali kusosola mu mawanga n'enzikiriza oba ekitundu omuntu kyalimu mu nsi yonna. Kino kye kiseera twegatte tusobole okuzza obupya ensi yaffe Uganda edobonkanyizibwa. Buli eyandyagadde okwegatta ku kibiina kya FADU kuba ennamba eno 1-888-4-7-3 oba weeyambise email info@fadu.org.
You are listening to Voice of Uganda Radio, the mouthpiece of all Ugandans, wherever they may be, to voice their problems without fear of any retribution. The Voice of Uganda Radio works in sync with FADU, the Federalist Alliance of Democracy and Development in Uganda. FADU is an organization that was formed to work as a platform for all Ugandans at home and outside, to work synergistically to liberate our mother Uganda from the ruthless invaders that have sucked it dry. Therefore, FADU invites all able Ugandans to act now and save the Ugandan humanity that is being slaughtered, destroyed, and robbed by a few people unworthy to call themselves Ugandans. Many people are crying for action in Uganda as they languish in misery. FADU echoes their cries by making the loudest alarm to everyone to join FADU, not tomorrow or the next day, but today. The number to join is 408-904-7038. The email is info@fadu.org.
This song is a dedication to all the Ugandans, wherever you may be, inside of the walls of Uganda or in the community of exile. Like unwanted children from the country that gave you birth, living amongst the free world. Rise up, my fellow Ugandans, as we fight against the dictatorship of the oppression of Museveni, for the rights of teachers, for the rights of government, for the rights of the justice system, trying to fight for the rights and the belief of the Ugandan people. Museveni has made a promise to Parliament of 150 million shillings to right the wrongs and to help them to make their lives whole again. Buying votes, buying the rights to rule the people for another 5 years in a dictatorship that has just destroyed Uganda to almost an unrecognizable state. What about the promises to the rest of the people that he's made? When will he make true on those things? Or do they not matter because they don't have a vote to keep him into office? I tell you, my fellow Ugandans, there's nothing free and fair about the election that's coming up when a sitting president can offer these type of monies and funds to a group of people to make sure that he holds his powerful position. Members of Parliament, it can happen to you. The same promises he made to the teachers who have gone without salary, some of them for 2 months. The same promises that he's made to other leaders and others who try to rule and stand up against him, only to fall by the hands of death, by torture, by house arrest, by whatever means he feels the need needs to be to keep them in control. We live in a time, my fellow Ugandans, where one man, one family, and one group feels the need to speak for all. Where land grabbing has gone on so much that they own pretty much all of the country. Which daily they sell pieces of the country off to the highest bidder to continue to keep money in this man's hand, to fund his wars, to fund his battles, to bribe the community, to keep himself in power in whatever way he can, leaving the Ugandan people with such a debt that they will wake up one day and Uganda will no longer belong to the people, but will be bought and sold off in bits and pieces to the highest bidder. wherever the money and wherever the funds need to come to keep this man in power. For the truth and the justice, for the helpless, we stand and we fight on behalf of the Ugandan people to bring back wholeness and completeness back to the Ugandan people. This is not a battle of arms, but a battle of spirit, a battle of souls and of the mind of the people of Uganda. The public management bill was put in place to keep us quiet. We must rise, we must stand together, we must find strength in one another to move forward on behalf of our beloved Uganda. It is a country that our fathers, our grandfathers, our mothers and our grandmothers fought and worked the land to make it a place in which we could live and have a life and take care of our families. Too many Ugandans are living in exile, in communities out in the free world, like unwanted children from the country that gave them birth. It's time for us to stand hand in hand and enter back into the country and take it back to make it great for all Ugandans, especially the youth of the country, who have an 80% unemployment rate. Time and time again, companies have tried to go into Uganda to work with the Ugandan government, but corruption has fallen at the hands of the Ugandan people time and time again. It takes from the mouth of the hungry. There is no medicine. The hospitals are falling apart. The roads are undrivable. The country has become unrecognizable at the hands of one man who sells the country off piece by piece, bit by bit, to the highest bidder, to continue to bid his war, to continue to fund the people who will vote him in and keep him in a position of power over all. The day has come, my fellow Ugandans. We must stand up, we must unite, we must become one.
Hello, and thank you so much for coming back for the second hour here, Freedom at Hand, here on Voice of Uganda Radio, with the Honorable Zoe Bakoko and me, Miss Brenda, here as your host. For those of you who hopefully did not miss the first hour of the show, we started the program at 7 o'clock this morning because we were off the air last week. So if you are just tuning in, welcome to the program this morning. We've had a great discussion for this first hour. I'm sure the second hour will be just as good, and we will take another break at the top of the hour here. For those of you that we had so many calls coming in, we did drop some of the calls, so if you want to call back here at the second hour and be a part of the discussion here on Freedom at Hand, we will welcome your calls. Zoe, I want to go to this real quick and say this, and then I want you to comment on it. The activists who just we didn't have a chance to respond because we had a call coming in. Let me just say this. When I visit Uganda, I do not visit the areas of Uganda that are hugely populated with these beautiful homes that the NRM comes into a London radio station and talk about the way Uganda's moving forward and building itself up. The majority of the time I spent were with people in the villages and people on the outskirts and people who lived in what some people consider the ghetto areas. So a lot of what he's talking about, I was not aware of it, because those were not the people that I was there visiting. The people that I was there visiting on behalf of other people did not live in such luxury. They were the poor and the forgotten of Uganda. So for my American audience, those are a lot of the conversations we have. I know that wealth exists there in Uganda, but that is not the majority of Uganda, and that is not the Uganda I know, nor is it the Uganda that I remember. So elaborate a little bit on that, what the NRM spokesperson is coming out to say about all the wealth and the way that Uganda is building up, when we ourselves know that that is far from the truth of the true Uganda that we know.
Yeah, Miss Brenda, just like the activist from Manchester said, you know, he said these are people who come out here and they're saying Uganda has become rich. You can drive around in a car from Entebbe to Kampala. You can see all the bungalows, and these are the people who have been bribed, and the money they have been bribed with, my sister, is the funds which is supposed to be used for building the hospitals he was talking about, for building the schools, which he was talking about, for building the roads, which he was talking about. These people have been bribed to come and brand Uganda outside, especially now when the population back home is saying no, because they know that the diaspora is aware of this. People go from here, from the free world, and visit in Uganda. They see the total difference, not only just in the infrastructural misery, they also see it from the democracy perspective, knowing that Uganda is at the bottom of the bottom. And so the people understand that those guys, that's why even the activist is able to stand up and challenge those people, because he knows the truth, and he knows that they are coming to. But there was one thing I caught from him when he said that this guy who comes from Busenyi is talking about the riches. He's talking about building big houses, that the diaspora people, there's freedom of speech, they're building big houses, and then he comes that the old man is being misinformed. Museveni is being misinformed. My brother, I don't think Museveni is being misinformed.
Yeah, because freedom of speech.
Museveni is a very calculative person. He wants people to believe that he's being misinformed. Exactly the words of his brother, Ssali, when he went to Luwero to say that for the first time he saw poverty in Luwero. Museveni has been traversing all this. He's been the only one who was allowed to roam around in Uganda, while all the opposition, everybody else who was going out to educate the people and talk about this corrupt electoral commission, which does not deserve even to be the electoral commission of Uganda. When the opposition was going around and they were being tear-gassed by Kale Kaihura and his policemen, Museveni was the only one roaming free, going for weddings, going to funerals, going to small things which could have been officiated by his RDCs, which could have been officiated by the local councils. Museveni is there. He wants to go. So in those villages where he has gone, while he's driving, hasn't he seen that poverty, and that he can claim that he's being misinformed? This thing of saying Museveni is being misinformed by people around him is actually shifting the blame from Museveni, making Museveni look good, when actually everything, he's the chief planner, and he's the one who is forcing all those people around him, intimidating them into submission. So he can't get off the hook. The guy is the chief planner. He's the one who orchestrates everything in Uganda, and he wants to get off.
Yeah, it's just like Musana just said earlier when he called in. It's the things that he's not saying that we need to listen to, more so than the things that he is, because he tells us a lot when he comes out and speaks.
That's right. Go ahead.
And we're paying attention to those things. Talk to me a little bit here about these agents that are going out for the NRM. Are they trying to reach out to the diaspora to tell us or to get us to believe something? Because let me tell you, the United States of America understands the power of the diaspora. They understand that the way that Uganda runs, the monies that it makes in interest off of the billions, because I think we reached $1 billion that was sent into Uganda in 1 year from those of us who are out in the diaspora sending money back to Uganda. So the power of those in the diaspora is very strong. Is this his tactic to try to reach back out and win the favor of some of those of us who are in the diaspora by sending these agents out?
No, Museveni thinks that he wants. When we are speaking on this radio and educating people are listening, Miss Brenda. Museveni thinks he can counter what we are talking, and that educating the people, he wants to counter it by going on those radios and saying, you see, the freedom of speech, people can talk now. What freedom of speech are you talking about? When listen, when actually you have even put a law in place, the Public Order Management Act, You have put that law in place so that people cannot be free. If 3 people are talking about politics and the police should arrest them, if people are going to discuss something, the police can arrest them in their home, in a public place. They cannot even hold rallies. How can you say there's freedom of speech?
There's freedom
and this
of
law
on the
was
outside
just
of Uganda. Yeah.
No.
There's freedom on the outside, not on the inside.
And listen, like the Anti-Homosexuality Act, Miss Brenda, there's a clause in that law. If I am a Ugandan and I support homosexuality, I am supposed to be returned to Uganda to face the law and be put in jail. So is the diaspora safe? So what freedom of speech is this guy talking about when they come and say that, now in Uganda you have freedom of speech? What freedom of speech?
Because if he could get us, he would come out and get us. You're most definitely right.
And
we have
so
a caller coming in. We have a call coming in, so let's go ahead and take this caller. Hey, caller, introduce yourself and come on in.
Hello, good morning, ladies.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
We're well, thank you.
Yeah, this is Chiwanuka Lawrence from New York calling in. And I am actually thrilled by what is happening, more so that I'm on a show being hosted by ladies. And I believe that this is going to be the year of women in a special way when it comes to Uganda.
Yes.
When you look at the paradigm shift in the elections in Ruwero, you know why I'm saying this is a year of the women. And for those who believe in the Christian faith, we know that after sin came and inhabited the world, it's a woman who gave birth to a savior, and the rest is recorded in history. So here we go with a woman telling people that the time for dominance of moral turpitude championed by the NRM is over. You've been talking about Museveni not seeing the poverty that bedevils our country. But if you look closer, there is one error that Museveni peddles around and people take it for the truth. When you look at economics from a social perspective, not from a purely economic perspective, economies are no longer measured in terms of GDP. When you are talking about social development in a country, or in a region, or in a nation, you talk about what we call economic indicators. And when you examine Uganda today under Yoweri Museveni, you find out that the economic indicators in Uganda have declined beyond the level they were at during the highly criticized regime of Idi Amin. For example, when you ask people in Uganda, how many people can afford 3 meals a day? The only positive thing to come out of Museveni's regime, I might say, is that husbands who used to stay away from home now return home early, that they can be with their family to have the singular meal of the day in the evening. Because there is no lunch and there's no breakfast, so people end up eating one meal around 6 p.m. and that is before the sun sets, because they cannot afford light in their homes. They have to eat when daylight is still available. This is an abomination when somebody says that the economy, the social economy is growing. The other major part of the economic indicators, from accessibility to a minimum of 3 meals a day, is access to basic medical treatment. Now, you just have to Google or look around Uganda, Recently, we had a video from Bugiri, which shows you how rotten is the medical system in Uganda. You can see the flooding in the hospital, and the water from the morgue flows into the antenatal clinic. You can see how that is a death trap for Ugandans. The other economic indicator is education. Can people access education? That has been ignored by the NRM regime. It has attempted to introduce some kind of education for all, but this was a way intended to make people more dormant in their access to education, because none, not even one child of the members of the Museveni cabinet and the close family goes to any public school in Uganda. They all go to private schools, and then they are shipped abroad for further education beyond primary education. The little access that would be available for the entire nation for education, when it comes to accessing the university education, is also manipulated in favor of those who are close to Museveni, whereby you find somebody by the name Okello, as he or she enters Makelele, but the transcript from the senior high school and the primary education show his name as Augustine Indianabo from Rukungiri. So they allocate education scholarships to Gulu district, but the people they send there claim to be from Gulu are from Chiruhura or Rukungiri. So even education is not accessible for the general population of Uganda. Then you cannot talk to me about there being development in the country. The houses that they peddle around are built by people who are working outside the country, who are here on what is commonly called Cheyo. The others are people who have robbed the national coffers. Case in point, Kazinda, who was a permanent secretary in the ministry, or in the office of the Prime Minister, built a 43-bedroom house. And you have to know that Kazinda is only 38 years. So when he left the university, he went to work for the government directly, and he's been harvesting from the state coffers. The other one is Kibule, who has a house around Namamve. The house has 31 bedrooms with an in-house movie theater, with a swimming pool that almost runs for half the backyard of the house. But this young man is only 34 years, and when he left Makerere, he went to work in the office of the president. He is now a deputy minister. What you have to know, that even though Kibule's name rhymes with a name from Uganda, his parents are immigrants into Uganda who are very close to Yoweri Museveni. These are some of the disturbing facts. They get simple properties that they have robbed from the state, and they claim that this is the image of the country. You need to go outside Kampala, look around the countryside, and see how the country is suffering, as evidenced by the anger of the people of Luwero, who en masse rejected Yoweri Museveni's candidate, and this was his surrogate candidate because she was not even nominated within the NRM, but Museveni wanted her to stand. So in rejecting her, Museveni is being rejected by the population in the countryside. The poverty in Uganda is not by accident. Anyone who doubts should go and find the Newsweek magazine of January 1987, in which Museveni was interviewed, and there was a special edition on Uganda because he was commemorating 1 year of being in power. In there, Museveni clearly states that he will not allow political pluralism, or what you Westerners call democracy, to return to Uganda until social classes are created in Uganda, where a class of national owners of Uganda, has been created and has taken root. That's why you see today that there are few people within from Museveni's clan who are taking all property. The intent is not accidental, but to create an upper class that will lord over the rest of the country. Therefore, we cannot accept Museveni to continue to lie to us. People must reject his lies in all possible ways and with disgrace. Museveni believes that the poor are easily ruled because they will often come back to you for simple hand-downs. This is an ideology he takes from the Machiavellian book, where it says that if you do evil maximally, that everybody is concerned about you and doesn't doubt your capacity to do evil. When you do good, you do it in small portions so that those seeking good can keep on coming back to you. And this is what Museveni does. You look at the kingdom of Uganda, he gives them a few things today, promises them some tomorrow, gives them a bit, and they keep hoping that he is going to give them more, whereas he's lying. He does this with the public. Instead of creating roads or structures that will allow people to work and live gainful lives, he just gives them small brown envelopes. This flies in the face of the notion that don't give me a fish, but teach me how to fish. Museveni will never teach Uganda how to fish because he wants it to be beholden to him in all the ways of living. And as I conclude, I would like to talk about the idea of freedom of speech. And I just want to caution people that even when you disagree with someone, you should protect their freedom to speak. But even those who agree with Museveni, he doesn't want them to speak. He's the only one who wants to be heard. Case in point, 2 weeks ago, Jackie Amama Mbabazi, the wife of the Prime Minister, was stopped from meeting inside the house with people from Kayunga district. The police chased her away. She would not be allowed to meet inside a house. This is not a public rally, but a private meeting. Museveni would not allow the wife of his prime minister to meet. Therefore, we should not get the message wrong. The message is clear. Museveni is telling us that I am here, I am holding this country in a chokehold. Unless a forceful mechanism is applied to move me, I am not going anywhere. He has called himself the control pin, that you push it in, you have to push it out. The effort that we saw in the Luwero by-election has to be doubled and force Museveni out of power from dominating our country. As I said at the beginning, I believe this is a year of women to politically lead the change in Uganda, and I am hopeful. I am happy that women are coming up. They are no longer in the armpits of Museveni, where he's been lying to them that he has given them the freedom to participate in politics. People actually, let me say something very quickly here, need to know that the day of July 25th, 1985, when the Milton Obote government was overthrown, Mary Obote was in Nairobi attending an African conference on how to bring women to participate into politics. This is a UN mandated policy. It's not a Museveni idea to have women participate in politics. So when I see them rise up, I am really pleased. I hope this maintains. Some of us men, we've been around for so long and we've screwed up a few things. I think it's time women are on board and the right path is being taken. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much for coming in and for all of your comments. Wow, what a loaded conversation that was, Zoe. Go ahead and speak on that, because one of the things I commend him for is this. You and I met at the African conference here in Delaware, and we met in a class for empowering African women, where you took the platform and spoke for a little bit, and I followed suit on the leadership roles that African American women and African women need to play in politics. Go ahead and speak on that part of it, and I know you want to add into a lot of other things that he had to share there, but speak on that just for a few minutes for me. So, because I want people to understand why we are celebrating. Brenda,
I want to thank our brother Lawrence. When you appreciate women, that is a huge gift, because in all these revolutions and all the hard work women do, women are never appreciated. Women's efforts are never acknowledged, and you can see that very clearly. And look at when you say women coming together and raising their voices is going to create change. That is very true. And in Uganda, every now and then, you have seen people like Ingrid, that woman from one of the MPs from the West. She has been arrested and beaten, dragged in police cars, treated like a sack, thrown around, almost, undressed. At one point, even the police manhandling her and touching her breast and doing all sorts of stupid stuff. Women have suffered, have endured for the liberation of their nations and countries. And so has that Beatrice Anwar from Kitgo. You have seen how she had to mobilize people when Museveni wanted to take away Namambe, the forest. You have seen Namboze, who nearly died when Museveni was maltreating the visit of the Kabaka to Kayunga. So these are women who have shown phenomenal strength in the face of Museveni's machinery and adversity. You have seen it. And today, out of that, what has been born? What I would call my daughter. She's fit to be my daughter because I have a daughter of her age. That is Miss Nabukenya Brenner, who stood up and said, no, we can't take it anymore. She's a mother. She knows that her son or daughter, the child, must have a future. And if she doesn't stand up today, for the last 30 years, she has not experienced that freedom. And so for her son to experience that freedom, she has to speak out now. And what could be more wonderful than that? And those are the things we celebrate, knowing that it is bringing out the Ugandans from their fear caves, saying that no more, we cannot be controlled. Because in Uganda, Museveni uses poverty as all the callers, and as we have said, he uses poverty, he uses the poor educational system, he uses the poor access to health, so that he can control the country and the people.
Yeah, because we can never forget what happened to Nabenda as well.
Yeah, and I mean, Nabenda died for it. For her, she didn't live, but she died for it. And we have all these women who have constantly been fighting. And I mean, I should remember Honorable Cecilia Ogwao. You know, I call her a mother. That is one woman who has fought in all those 30 years. And so I think women, I am just, as I speak now, my tears are rolling down my cheeks, because not in pain and misery, but in joy. They are tears of joy, because I know that when the sisters, the power of women, when they come together, we kind of have a way of touching the soft buttons of the men, so that they can do right by us and by our children. And like Lawrence said, sometimes the men can screw, and people like Museveni are the men who have really screwed Uganda big time. They have really, really screwed Uganda big time. But we can make it right. We are the mothers, and that's why your heart bleeds when people like the First Lady do the kind of things they do, because you would have expected, as the chief mother, she would have been the one to be the silent voice to her husband.
To stand behind these women, you're absolutely
and stand behind these women and say, my husband. You know, Miss Brenda, we watched that movie over the weekend, during the week with you. You know, you remember how the judge changed when his wife sat by him and spoke to him. So some women's voice can be very powerful, individually, collectively, and this is our moment as the women, and we feel blessed to have people like Lawrence, people like Professor Muviru, people like Professor Amin, all these people who are there to stand by us and to encourage us and tell us what we do is right. And that is the encouragement we need, holding our hands and telling us you are moving in the right direction, ladies. Continue.
Yes, exactly. And let our other caller come on in. Hi, come on in and say hello.
Good morning, Miss Brenda and Honorable Zoe. I would like to thank you so very much for the past hour and a half, to all our listeners and all those who have called in. Such a wonderful job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I know you've been following us this morning.
Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you. Welcome.
You are welcome.
So go ahead and join this conversation. I know you've probably been listening in, so go ahead and tell us what you're thinking with all the things that you've heard so far on the program.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Brenda, for this opportunity. I mean, this has been a loaded program so far. What can I say? All the members and the callers, I think we had a caller who called for the first time who wanted to follow up on the question, the wrong people. When Museveni says the wrong people, what does he mean? I would like to thank that gentleman so much for his input, for elaborating and explaining, because that's what we need to understand the personality and the character of President Museveni. Anytime, anywhere, in a given point in a place for the past 28 years also, when you don't agree with Museveni, you are the wrong person. So he did such a wonderful job. Not that the rest of the callers didn't do so well. They did so good, but this is an extra for me. The second point I would like to make was, I'm going to apologize a little bit here. and I haven't done this for a while, but for the point of clarity, I'm just going to make a few comments here. And before I comment, I would also like to thank Miss Brenda and Honorable Zoe Bakoko because they have interpreted this idea. They have answered Mr. Kalimagezi's question so well that apparently by now he understands where I was coming from yesterday on the program Focus on Uganda. I called in and I talked for about 15 minutes. The first point I made, for sure, don't get me wrong, I had to because I have to. When we talk about Luwero, in Uganda, Luwero is different. When I talk about 7 losing in Luwero is different. So I came on the show and I congratulated my sister Brenda now Kenya for standing up, for being a voice, and giving people for who to stand up for. I made a few points. First of all, I congratulated Nabu Kenya, and I gave her a few words of encouragement and counsel. First of all, I brought it to her attention that the work ahead of her is big. I told her not to get comfortable and be trapped to what is going on in our current parliament. I reminded her about my beloved sister, our beloved sister, Selina Nevenda, who is no longer with us because she decided to stand up for the women and children of Uganda. I told Nabu Kenya not to forget the children of Uganda who spent so long in the lines trying to vote for her in Luwero, who after voting, they had to stay put to protect their votes. And I brought in the idea and reminding the Ugandan people what Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago is going through, that people who voted for whom were beaten, they were bleeding, they were tear gassed, votes were rigged. The same thing happened in Luwero. It's not a mistake. A lot of money was spent in Luwero. There was rigging, there was intimidation, there was beating. I reminded Nabu Kenya of the song of Mathias Walukaga, Parliament Yafe, our parliament, how the MPs have forgotten the people who voted for them, and they are living in comfortable corruption and bribe and being pampered by Museveni. So I told her not to forget those people who suffered. And I also made a point to mention that there is no kind of vote is going to get Museveni out of power. Okay, I made that point. And I reminded Nabu Kenya to stand up and start mobilizing the people of Luwero, make them strong, check on them, those who drink water and go to bed, to be there with them, and she drink water too. I made my comment. I chose what I said deliberately. Okay? So, by congratulating Nabu Kenya and all those points I gave, I was by no means endorsing the Electoral Commission or saying that through the vote we're going to get Museveni out of the power. I was very clear on that. So, but when Mr. Kalimagezi came and said, oh, Drosy, you congratulating Nabu Kenya, and we should not be carried away with this idea of voting. If you've been on the Voice of Uganda Radio, you know where I stand. This is my biggest rebuttal with the Kano Monday. The idea of reforming and sitting on the table with the Museveni is not our thing here at Fadu and Voice of Uganda Radio. So, what I want to say that, Mr. Kalimagezi, this morning at least you came on in a better note. And the way you asked your question was really very nice. And I want you to understand that I agree with you 100%. But at least next time when you are quoting me, at least I just want you to summarize everything that I have said so that we don't cause confusion. To me, it felt like the only thing I said was congratulating Nabu Kenya. And you didn't comment or mention everything else, or listing at least the few points that they elaborated before us. So for the point of clarity, I'm just forced to clarify this because we don't want to be confused. And also, Honorable Bakoko and Ms. Brenda, they have done such a beautiful job to explaining to you and our listeners why we are doing what we are doing. Okay? Now Kenya is in harm's way, and she should stand up and make all the noises she can, because Selena is not with us anymore. Mr. Karimagizi, you are the champion of positive energy. I remember when you defended the Muhammadin circle and told us not to be so harsh about what is happening up in the parliament. So you can't say that Nabu Kenya is going to be another problem in the parliament. We know where she's coming from. We know what she has done. So for us, we need to say this is the beginning. The people are starting to practice their rights and they should stand up. This is the beginning of the mobilizing of the revolution. Not that the vote is going to get Museveni out. And you are very right also when you pointed out that if Museveni wanted to rig, if this was, let's say, if this was presidential election, of course, the announcement would have come through that Nabu Kenya has won the presidency of Uganda. So yes, you are very right. We need to put that in mind. Okay, that coming 2016, nobody else is going to be announced the winner except Mr. Yoweri Museveni. So we understand that, and we are on track. But to begin with, even years and years to come, the children of Uganda should stand up. But more so, Luwero is different because Museveni, they had announced in the newspaper that Museveni, the people of Luwero were high on Museveni. This is the area where the war started. These are the people who fed Museveni, who gave him everything he needed, the men and women who gave up their children, who gave up their cows and goats and everything. But it is sudden to be that 20, 30 years down the road, the schools, the hospitals, the roads that were bombed during the war, and the veterans who are limping with bullets in their back, they can't even be taken to the hospital. It's saddening. So in other words, we have to celebrate what happened in the world, because the people of the world did speak. They did speak, and that leads Uganda to the next step. They spoke that they have been betrayed. So it is very important to us. Thank you so much, Mr. Brenda. Those are the few points I wanted to make first to begin with here, because it is imperative. And for us girls, it is big,
Yes,
so yes, solidarity.
Yes, thank you so much, Dorothy, and welcome to the program. We are going to take a break here because we're into our second hour now, getting ready to wound down to our last hour. Me and the ladies are going to take just a quick break here. When we come back, we are going to dissect and talk a little bit more in depth about Gilbert the Kenya, because he's in the news right now, and we have a lot to say on the direction that we feel he should take in some of the things that he's saying and doing right now as well. So take a break. You're listening to Madam Dorothy, myself, Miss Brenda, and the Honorable Zoe Bakoko here on Voice Uganda Radio at Freedom at Hand. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Uganda American Muslim Association invites you to the 6th annual meeting and conference. It will be held from July 11th, 2014 to July 13th, 2014 in Beltsville, Maryland. For more details, you can visit our website at uwamalink.org or call phone number 301-408-8417. Remember, it's every Muslim's duty to know of the plight of another Muslim. This is an opportunity for you to meet and know fellow Muslims from Uganda living in America.
Fellow citizens, we call upon you to practice resistance and protest against Museveni. We call upon you to oppose strongly the Museveni government, which is responsible for the downfall of Uganda. It is important to know that Museveni is afraid of the millions of people who are living for that day, for the light of day when Uganda will be liberated from his dictatorial regime. Fellow citizens, it's been 24 years of dictatorship. We should all know that at present, our drive for freedom has already grown so strong that Museveni has already begun to change his tactics. We call upon people to participate, to organize silent stand-ins for a free Uganda. We call upon people to demonstrate that we're tired of him. We call upon governments in the United States of America and abroad, people in responsible positions, politicians, only to act in the service of peace, justice, and freedom for Uganda. We call upon people to use all legal and imaginative means and methods in order to ensure peace, justice, and freedom for Uganda. We call upon people from the north and south, from the east and west, and yes, from the central province of Uganda to be loyal to one another. We must preserve our loyalty to human dignity. We call upon people once again not to wait until it is too late to begin thinking about a free Uganda. We call for a new attitude. Arise, fellow citizens, arise. Let us fight for a free Uganda. Museveni must go.
Gwe omulungi atuuliriza, kino kirango kya njawulo. Amanyi n'eddoboozi, nze Muga James, chairman ow'akakiiko akateesiteesi ak'omukolo okugenda okukyaza Katikkiro mu Bungereza. Charles Peter Mayiga, Katikkiro wa Buganda, yakkiriza era yakakasa olugendo lwe olw'okulambula bannayuganda ne Abaganda abali mu nsi ez'enjawulo. Mu nteekateeka eno, Katikkiro agenda kulambula UK, agendeko Sweden, agendeko Canada, agendeko mu USA. Mu nteekateeka eno, naffe tulina omukisa munene nnyo okusonda ettofaali okuzza Buganda ku ntikko. Pulogulaamu egenda kutambula etya? Pulogulaamu etambula bweti. Ngenaku z'omwezi 23 August ali mu UK ku Harris Academy, oluvannyuma yeekoneko mu bika by'Abaganda. Bw'avaayo agende Sweden ngenaku z'omwezi 26 okutuuka ngenaku z'omwezi 28 mu August omwaka guno. Bw'avaayo ajja kubanga yeekonako e Toronto mu Canada ngenaku z'omwezi 29 okutuuka ngenaku z'omwezi 30. Bw'avaayo agende Chicago 31 mu August okutuukira ddala nga 4 September. Bw'avaayo agendeko mu Boston mu America okuva ngenaku z'omwezi 4 okutuuka ngenaku z'omwezi 8. Katikkiro asuubira okudda e Uganda ngenaku z'omwezi 9 mu September omwaka guno. Guno gwe mukisa gwaffe okulaga obwagazi bwaffe erinnyaffe Buganda. Ng'okumanya ebisingawo osobola okukyalira omukutu gwaffe friendsofbuganda.org.uk. Sonda ensimbi ezo ezinayamba okuddaabiriza amasiro ate n'embuga z'amasaza ag'enjawulo okuzza Buganda ku ntikko. Charles Peter Mayiga agenda kubanga atukyalira ate goberera enteekateeka ez'enjawulo mu nsi ezo z'emmenye, n'abakulu abateesiteesi bajja kubanga bakutegeeza ebigenda mu maaso. Kabaka waffe kabonero akalaga nti Katonda ne Buganda omwoyo gugube kulimira kabaka wange muwenda.
Thank you so much for coming back for the last hour here of Freedom at Hand with the Honorable Zoe Bakoko, Madam Dorothy, who has joined in, and we are glad to have her on board for especially this last hour of conversation, and of course me, your host here, Miss Brenda. Ladies, we've got to talk about it. I mean, with everything else that we've talked about, we've got to address Gilbert Bukenya. The role he's playing right now and how he feeds into all of this, because some are saying that there's a score to be settled between him and the president as to why he's becoming a voice that's being heard loudly in Uganda right now. Zoe, let's start with you on that, because I had the privilege of meeting him. It was a short visit, but I had a chance of meeting him when he was here in U.S., and I found him to be a a very nice person that I enjoyed conversation with. You had a chance to work with him a little bit closer in cabinet. So let's talk about him for a little bit here.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Brenda. I worked with Honorable Gilbert Bukenya when he was still a member of parliament, and then he became the caucus chair, and after that he was appointed the minister in the office of the presidency, and then after that he rose to the position of vice president. And now I don't call him honorable, I call him His Excellency, the former vice president, even though he has been dropped and he's now a backbencher. And he is a medical doctor by profession, and as a nurse there are very many surveys, and we did a lot of research together, and I would be the person who would supervise the research in my area in West Nile, and we worked a lot together on these issues which Lawrence was talking about, looking at the indices, the indicators of health within West Nile, which actually portray the levels of poverty and backwardness in our country. So His Excellency Gilbert Bukenya is someone who understands and knows what the situation in Uganda is. And I imagine he also, during his tenure as vice president, what I would really call his legacy is the upland rice, which he actually introduced in Uganda. And his purpose of introducing the upland rice was to help people to fight poverty and have food available by growing rice, which was not a common food in Uganda, grown in Uganda, except in the swamps of Tiringa, I think, in eastern Uganda, in Butsoga. So for Bukenya, I look at him as the people's person, and having worked in NRM with him, I know that he tried to do things which would have changed the terrain in Uganda. And after he left, he's coming out and explaining some of the things that happened to him personally. But I do understand what he's talking about when he was standing for the position of Secretary General in NRA, the position which was eventually taken by Honorable Amama Mbabazi, who is now the Right Honorable Prime Minister of Uganda. And I remember His Excellency Gilbert Bukenya and Honorable Otafire and Honorable Mbabazi fighting for that position. They were the ones who were nominated. And I remember Museveni calling them several times to State House to try and settle these things, so that that's what the word they used, so that his candidate, the one he anoints, is the one who becomes the candidate, and he presents that candidate to the caucus in Nambole, and the caucus just endorses that person. It's not like you count votes, you put up hands, you do what. And this same thing happened to me. I know it because it happened to me. I was standing for the position of second vice chair, because Honorable Chigongo is the first vice chair, because he deputizes President Museveni in NRM as the vice chair. And then a slot was created for the women, and I did not want to, but people who, the NRM members sent a delegation to my house in the evening when, after this position was created, that they wanted me to stand, because Museveni was from the west, and there was Honorable Right Honorable Chigongo from the central. And they said the North has been completely left out in this, and Kadaga was already in the position of speaker, and the North was totally left out. I was the only cabinet minister from the north, a woman. Of course, Honorable Moses Ssali could not be because he was a man. And what they wanted was a woman to fill that position. And the people who really were thinking of democracy and equitable distribution came forward and said, Honorable Bakoko, I think you should be the one to stand in this position because we want distribution of power. And if you are from the north and you are the only woman from the north who is now in a high office in NRM, then you should be the one. And I remember how Museveni called us to State House to tell me not to go and contest in that position, and how we also exchanged our own words, and I will leave that too. It's in my book, in a book which I'm going to write. But the truth of the matter is that when Museveni does not want you to stand in a certain position or to be in a certain position, he is going to do everything to throw you out. And so for the men, while he ended up saying, okay, they don't want to listen, the only thing is we will go to the caucus and the people have to canvass for the votes. And of course, by that time, by delaying the voting and continuing to do this, he was building an emotion among the members who were in Nambole to say that, can you imagine Gilbert Bukenya, he's my vice president, he's not even grateful. These are the things. Because Museveni thinks when he appoints you in these positions, you are supposed to prostrate in front of him and be grateful. He said, Bakoko, you are a whole minister. How can you contest for this? And can you see that I said, Mr. President, you appointed me in this position because I am capable and because I can do the job. It's not a gift. And this is the kind of exchange we had in State House when we were arguing. And I said, I have a right as a member of the party to stand for any position. You cannot say that I should not. And then Honorable Mbabazi called from Nambole because he had gone to address the caucus of the district leaders, all the LC5s and everybody who came, the sub-county and everybody, he was addressing them and in favor of the candidate they wanted to become the second vice chair for the women. And as soon as he introduced the name, oh my God! All the members said, no. And then Babas is like, whom do you want? He said, Honorable Bakoko. And Babas said, okay. And everybody walked out in protest. So Babas went straight to the phone and called the president and said, my dear, Mr. President, if you don't force Honorable Bakoko's hand out while she's there in State House, you will be having a total embarrassment in Nambole. What would have happened in Nambole is what happened in Luero this week, where the entire NRM, was going to stand up behind me and say that we want Bakoko to be our, this is the kind of thing. When Museveni sees that you are an emerging popular person for the people, because you are the people's voice, you become a threat. And so Gilbert Bukenya going to become a Secretary General, and Secretary General is a very powerful position. And you can see by becoming a Secretary General today, Amama Babas is also his adversary, and now he has used that position to get to congregate a lot of support from the entire country, and now he becomes also Museveni's adversary and enemy. And so Gilbert Bukenya he's coming out now to stand with the Nabu Kenya. People say he's sorting out scores. He's doing this because he has been dropped as vice president. He's doing this because he's a backbencher. I believe that there's some voice inside him which is telling him that you are a medical doctor. Medical doctors do the right thing. If you don't, your patient is going to die. Yes. And so your role is to save lives. And if this person is terminal, you make them go in peace and die with dignity. You don't end their lives. And so for him, I think there was that silent voice as a medical person. Because for us nurses and doctors who are medical people, we have a duty to honor life. And in that thing was triggered when Gilbert Bukenya saw how the opposition was tear gassed on the first day when Nabukenya was nominated. Yeah, I think it kind of triggered this thing inside him to say, I think it's time I speak out. Yes, because then he said, this is what triggered it off. So he went and joined the opposition. The opposition was already united, and they had already said, this time we are just going to front one candidate. We are not going to fragment our votes by all these different parties fronting a candidate. So Gilbert Bukenya came out, and what I want to see now is him standing behind Elias Lukwago, because the biggest, I'll call it, I think the biggest, what word can I use, Miss Brenda? Disservice. The biggest disservice which has been done to the people of Kampala is the fact that Elias Lukwago, who has been elected as duly elected by the majority of the people of Kampala, has been denied going to his office. All tricks have been used. They are putting Namusisi in that office, and Namusisi is just there to stifle the Lord Mayor. And every time he gets out, he's being tear gassed. The guy has become a hostage in his own home under house arrest. And they have used the judiciary. And so now I just would love to see His Excellency Professor Gilbert Bukenya standing behind Elias Lukwago, so that the right is done by him. Exactly, and that's what I was going to say. Let me bring Dorothy in on this too, because Dorothy, going into what the Honorable Zoe Bikoko was just sharing there, how do you feel the Uganda will benefit because of what he's saying and what he's starting to share, and how he can shed light, like she's saying, on what happened to the Lord Mayor there of Kampala City? Because if he's a voice of reason and a voice that's coming out and speaking out against the government in a pretty powerful way right now, I mean, if he gets the attention of the people and the people are listening, how do you think that the Ugandans can benefit from him right now?
Thank you so much, Miss Brenda. First of all, our Vice President, Gilbert Bukenya, he's been fighting for a longer time. But as you know, as Honorable Zoe has stated that, medical ethics, it's not like a politics. When you take that oath to treat, to do right, to stand, to save lives, it's not, you have to mean it, and I have to do it. And you have to have that heart to do so. Dr. Gilbert Bukenya, he's been quiet, and he has been through a lot, as you know, including losing his son. But he wanted to stand by what he believed in. The Ugandan people, they know that this is an intelligent guy. He has made some mistakes there and there. But for the big reasons, as Honorable has been explaining to us, that position of the Attorney General, what happened, when he wanted to stand up for president, what happened. He ended up in Luzira. among the people who stole chunks of money from Chogam, he was nowhere on the list. But these charges were brought against him. This was President Museveni's way to say that he don't even think about taking my job. Okay? So, and for those who have been listening to the Voice of Uganda radio, Dr. Gilbert Bukenya, came to a Voice of Uganda. And I was among those who asked questions. And my number one question was, how did he expect to stay in the NRM party and fight against this monster, given what he had been through and he knows? But now I understand, being a health professional, being a doctor, he wanted to do what was right. But I think the people of Uganda have been waiting for so long, and he's also realizing that there is nothing he can do within there. He has tried to make things right within, and he can no longer do that. And for us, the children of Uganda, we are waiting for him. We want to see where he's standing. And leave alone that, the way the politics is played in Uganda, and the murdering and the killing and everything that goes around, I think it is important for the Dr. Gilbert Bukenya to stand up and scream so loud so that the children of Uganda, in case something happened to him, as it happened to his son, people know clearly where he stands. That is for his own benefit and life saving. Okay? People need to know where Bukenya is standing, because it's been for so long unclear. So I think it is important for him to stand up straight with the opposition and voice his opinion. And in terms of Ms. Brenda's question, how is this going to benefit Ugandans? Well, the Ugandan people know that these are the elite, these are the smart people who had the right ideas, but their hands are tied. So if he comes up and stands behind Nabukenya and the opposition, if he comes out and he stands behind Rukwag, you know, that is a big, big reinforcement. And another thing, for those, when you look at this article, when you look at the commentary of Monitor, where they are saying that why the NRM party is here for the long haul, it is here to stay. And I'm reading what this guy, Noya, what he's saying about the movement. At the beginning it was right, but right now the movement has betrayed the children of Uganda, including the 27 members, very close members who have worked so hard tirelessly for the NRM. So they have been betrayed, including the Bukenya. So it is just the right thing to come out and fight. They fight, and we will benefit. So, to energize the opposition, the unity, that is big for us. And also, when this man comes out to say the NRM is here to stay, we are very strong, those who are speculating and suggesting that there is a power struggle in the NRM, we are one, whatever you can say. But if Bukenya is leaving, he has tried so long to make peace and take the country forward within the NRM. But as we know, Museveni decides who takes what position. He single-handedly elects Sinabwanga to be the candidate, you know, refusing any kind of input the NRM party members had to put in. As you see, he was opposed to Honorable Zoe Bakoko when all the NRM were saying other thing, and he wanted a different thing. So you can't sit there and say there is no power struggle within the NRM. No, so by Gilbert Bukenya coming out, Honorable Miss Brenda and Honorable Bakoko, the children of Uganda and the country, Uganda as a nation, we will benefit because we know what is looming in the NRM struggle. So that is another hole. They can no longer say that they are one. I saw this article in Observer. They are stating that Dr. Gilbert Bukenya did betray the NRM. How could he be a member of the be a member of the parliament and at the same time come out and do what he did? Yes, it is high time. It is high time he come out and he stands up in broad daylight to tell the Ugandan children what he stands for. For God's sake, he has tried. He has been gentle to do the right thing, but that is not Museveni's way. For those who are saying that we are dreaming, the NRM is here to stay. Let us wait and see. The struggle continues. Thank you so much, Mr. Brenda.
You're welcome, and I want to feed off of what you just said. We can go back to Zoe with this, because I feel that the chain of the NRM is weakening as we speak, because links of that chain are starting to fall away. Links of that chain are starting to question things. They're starting to be undermined, and they don't like it. They're starting to I think they're starting to realize a lot of what Gilbert is starting to realize. They're in there to make changes, and it's not happening. Their voices are not heard. You yourself said, Zoe, when the president appoints you to a position, he thinks he's giving you a gift. Yet you guys have educated yourselves. You guys have gone to school. You guys are worthy of these positions. Some of them. There may be some that aren't. But, these are not gifts that he's handing out. These are things that you guys have worked hard for. And how long, we've said it time and time again on this show, how long will those in the NRM continue to allow themselves to be treated this way instead of standing up for themselves and for the people in whom their districts in which they represent?
Thank you, Ms. Brenda. Thank you, Ms. Dorothy. I wrote some articles in the Observer, and I think that article is still there. I was talking about the power of cliques in NRM. They have been, I said, there have been cliques because there were so many people who were in different cliques and thought they were very powerful. Because I was speaking about the clique of Kutesa, that group, Museveni's wife and Museveni, and you have the Ssali clique, who does he align with? You have the Mbaba's clique, whom does he align with? There was the Gilbert Bukenya and Nsibambi clique, and I was explaining in that article that some of those cliques did not matter and they were not powerful to Museveni. There was at least one clique which would be very important to Museveni, and that is the clique he trusted, like the clique for him, his wife, Sam Kutesa, and his brother Salim Saleh. So all these other people like Mbabazi, were there because they were the ones implementing whatever he wanted done, and so I said the Otafire, the Kionga, those kind of cliques, they didn't matter because from 7, those were the people he put there and he expected them to do the things he wanted. Even if they, like Otafire, he speaks the contrary, it didn't matter to 7. So to me, if you get an opportunity and get that access to that article, it will probably explain a lot of things. But going back to this same thing that we are talking about, His Excellency former Vice President Gilbert Bukenya has come out. He went out and stood with the opposition. He broke ranks because Museveni was campaigning for Nalwanga in another part of Luero, while Gilbert Bukenya was campaigning for Nam-Kenya with the opposition in another part of Luero. There's been a lot of articles, lots and lots in the past 2-3 days or in the past week about what Gilbert Bukenya has done. He has betrayed the NRM. He has broken ranks with the NRM. Is he scoring, whatever with the NRM? Is he not ungrateful for he was a vice president? Should he have come out when he was still a vice president? Would that have been more powerful? The truth of the matter is, from the time when Kizza Besigye came out and decided to challenge Museveni within NRM, which did not work, Honorable Wapakabulo was supposed to have been a potential presidential material. He died. Honorable Ayume was a potential presidential material. He died. There are people in NRM who have been trying. You could see that they are presidential material, a lot better than Museveni, and they have not been able to make it. Mayombo, who was his executioner, when he started nursing presidential ambitions, you also know where he is now. He joined the others who are gone. And so even if Gilbert Bukenya was nurturing these ambitions, it was very difficult for him. He had to weigh his options to see. And I think the real message for him to say, don't even go there, was not the Luzira. Because Luzira, one way or other, Museveni knows that Luzira would have been a bad strategy for him. It would frighten Gilbert Bukenya, but it would make him popular. And so he came back and worked out things to get Gilbert Bukenya out. And Gilbert Bukenya continued to praise Museveni after that. But the real message which Museveni sent to Gilbert, which cowed him, was the killing of his son. The death of his son was the clear message to say, don't even think of becoming a president or even taking my job. Don't, or you will feel the pain. And so for Gilbert Bukenya, he had to look at these options, all these options on the table. Politics, for us, we can, there are many people who are out there who are going to see him as somebody. He's intelligent, he's brilliant. And like we have said, in Uganda, even when Museveni says he's the only visionary, he's the only person who can be the leader of Uganda, there are so many visionary people, Gilbert Bukenya included, in Uganda, who can lead Ugandans. And the time is now for these visionary people who are there, who are intelligent, to come out. And the weave and the KK, as we call it, the sieve is going to sieve them in the eyes of the people. The people are going to see who the right person who can lead them is, because we don't want an old wine put in another old bottle in the new Uganda. We now have Honorable Mbabazi. There's a lot of talk. He has been mobilizing. He's mobilizing. We have now seen Gilbert Bukenya. His move to go with to go and campaign with the opposition is a clear indication that he is willing to take on Museveni for his position as a president. So all these people are coming out, and so the Ugandans are going to be listening to them. They will have to come out and endear themselves to Ugandans and show Ugandans that when we become president, it's going to be different, totally different from what it was. We also have all these presidents of all the opposition who have been as well challenging Museveni in those positions. And for me, it's all about the opposition coming together, the power of unity and the power of one. And whoever they choose, the power of unity and the power of one. And whoever they decide is the person we will be able to rally. And it is going to be a discussion, a work in progress, because the new Uganda is going to have to be different from this rot we have had in this country.
I will refer to him as you did as the excellent Bukenya when I had the honor of meeting here on a visit he had here in the U.S. He turned to me and he said, "You are being very quiet. You haven't spoken." And it was because I was enjoying the conversation. He is a very engaging person in conversation, and you listen to him and you cling to his words because there's a sense of honesty there in some of it. Dorothy, I want to go to you for just a second here, because one of the things that Zoe has just talked about, the death of so many great people who were capable of leading the Ugandan people, who are no longer with us. I feel like we have an obligation here. We have a call. I'm going to take that call in just a second, Dorothy, and I'm going to come back to you. I think we have an obligation here on this radio station in the FUF in the Federal Alliance for Democracy and Development in Uganda and here on Voice Uganda Radio for not only Gilbert Bukenya, not only the Lord Mayor of Kampala City, not only Brenda Nabaganda, who just won her post. We have to keep their names alive. We have to keep these people alive on the radio programs, announcing who they are, making the public, not only in Uganda but in the diaspora, aware of who they are, because no illness should fall on any of these people, because these are people who are moving things in a great, great direction. The Selena Nabenda didn't have a voice for her. But I think these other individuals, through us, through what we do on our programs and all of the commitments we've made to the Ugandan people to be a part of their struggle, I think we have to continue to keep their names on our lips. We have to continue to keep them alive in the hearts and the minds and the eyes of the Ugandan people, the American people, those in UK, those in Australia, wherever they may be, to continue to keep harm from falling on these people like it did so many other great leaders there in Uganda. We have a caller coming through, so I want to go ahead and take this, ladies, and then we'll come back to you here in just a second, Dorothy. Hey, caller, go ahead and introduce yourself and come on in.
Miss Brenda and the Honorable Bakoko and Dorothy. Good
morning, sir.
Good morning,
Professor.
Well, I'm enjoying the conversation. I would not have wasted your time calling and continue enjoying, but there are a few points I just wanted to make, I thought I should make. And
yes.
The first one is that social change is inevitable. That may sound like a very simple and obvious statement, but it is true, and I believe this is the first law of history. My friend Amy, probably a historian, may disagree with me because some scholars don't believe that there is such a thing as a law of history, but I believe there is, because social change is inevitable. No person or no leader or no regime can prevent social change. That's what history has taught us. That's what we've learned, whether in the United States, in South Africa, in Africa, the independence movements, and what is going on, even what has recently happened in Europe and in Russia. You can't prevent society from changing. So no society remains the same forever. That's what it translates to. The only problem is that it is very difficult to change society at the same time. That is, to convince people to change their behavior, rooted in either ideology, in culture, in religion, and sometimes even, in the case of Uganda, hero worshipping a person like Museveni as a man who liberated the Ugandans from dictatorship, when in fact it is the opposite. So, yeah, and also regimes, brutal regimes create a pathological fear, which also, essentially is state terrorism. It is one way to prevent social change, but inevitably these regimes are always overthrown. That's what history teaches, that, it doesn't matter how brutal, whether you are Hitler, whether you are Min, whether you are Mao Zedong, you are going to one day come to an end. Your regime is going to come to an end. So in spite of all these obstacles, society inevitably changes. And I think Nabukenya and Bukenya, they tend to rhyme. In different ways are good evidence to prove that society inevitably changes. The voters in Luwero, in my opinion, sent out a very good message to Museveni and NRM in general. Political invincibility of NRM is no longer a reality. In spite of the corruption, in spite of the intimidation of voters, and the power of incumbency, in spite of all those, Nabukenya won. So what does this translate to me? It translates that society will always inevitably change. The people in Luwero have realized that Museveni is not the one for them. All these forces, failed. Museveni's forces, they failed to defeat Nabukenya. So the Vice President Bukenya you are talking about, for him, I congratulate him on his courage to come out openly and support Nabukenya's candidacy. Again, that is evidence that the regime, NRM regime, is cracking, because it shows that even people who used to support Museveni, like Bukenya, are ready and willing now to come out in the open and throw their support behind the opposition. So the question is whether the Asimwes of the United Kingdom, the Walusimbis of the United States, the Basajja Balavas of Kampala will continue to cling to Museveni and to NRM in spite of clear evidence that NRM regime is crumbling. It will crumble. I mean, the law of history says nothing remains the same forever, and so the change is coming. But of course, like FUF and the FADU, for change to come, it needs to be accelerated. The pace of change should be accelerated by organizations, by people participation. Now I come to the two types of poverty that afflict Uganda. The first type of poverty is poverty of political science. This may surprise you, how political science is, how it can be characterized as a poor science. One of the great failures of political science is the fact that political scientists study the policies, the styles of leadership. I remember Mazurui, writing about Obote's style of leadership and the 2+1 proposal in the elections, and as if that had a lot of sense and substance, when in fact it was empty. So what I'm trying to say is that political science has not gone to the core of what animates politics, and that is the personality of an individual leader. Until we understand the personality of the leader, we haven't understood anything about the politics it creates. So it is not limited to, this problem is not limited to non-democratic systems like Uganda. U.S., for example, produced Richard Nixon, whose character is very similar to that of Obote, of Museveni, and other dictators. Vindictive, he goes after and he thought he could control everything. The only difference between U.S. and Uganda is that in U.S. they had institutions, strong institutions that forced Nixon to resign and go away. But we don't have those in Uganda. But we have, inevitably, if we want to democratize, we have to create those institutions to remove leaders like Museveni, whether or not they like it. So the Museveni is a master of deceit. He's a chameleon, as they say. He is very good at hiding his true character and intentions. And this tells us a lot about what he did in the Ruel Triangle. That is why he believes that he alone knows what is right and all the other people are wrong. That is, a manifestation of arrogance. Hence, the very, very character, the quality of a dictator. Every dictator believes that he alone has the answer to all the problems. That's why they cling to power. That's why they victimize their opponents, and they sometimes not only victimize, but they kill them. So we have to understand that, and until the political science gives us a better understanding of the character and behavior of these leaders, we shall not fully comprehend what animates these people and why they behave like that. Now, the second type of poverty of the people, this is the poverty of the people in Uganda. The direct cause of poverty in Uganda is misgovernance, not lack of resources. Uganda has a lot of resources, and even it has intelligent people, hardworking people. But it is surprising that poverty has been increasing under Museveni, as one of your callers pointed out. So at the theoretical level, though, if Karl Marx had been right in formulating his capital theory, today the poor Ugandans would have already militated and revolted against Museveni. But the theory was wrong, so we have yet to fight the regime using the traditional methods and sometimes innovative ones, and so these problems we have to fight them, not because the people don't understand them. The people do understand them, but I think what is required now is leadership to channel their energy into dealing with the problems, and the problem, of course, is Museveni. And as long as Museveni is in power, you cannot solve the problem of poverty in Uganda. You cannot solve the problem of empowerment, or whether of women. He's masquerading as the leader who, for the first time, made women, put women into positions of leadership. But that is manipulation. He manipulates women instead of empowering them. So until we solve this problem of our understanding of the nature of the problem, I don't think we are going to solve it. But the most important thing is where I started, that change is inevitable. However, change being inevitable doesn't mean we can go to sleep and the change will come. We are the people who have to cause change to come and to bring about a transformation in society. So I'll stop there and let you continue with your good program.
Thank you so much, Professor, for your words. I'm going to go ahead to Dorothy, and then we'll go to Zoe with that question I had there before we took in the professor, and you can feed off of anything that the professor had to share there with us as well. What do you think our roles are in keeping the names alive of these individuals so that they don't fall to the silence of harm because of the regime in which they are a part of?
Thank you so much, Miss Brenda, again.
Yes.
As I already mentioned, that yesterday when I called in on Focus of Uganda, I made it deliberately to encourage Kenya and to mention, to her and our listeners, and for us Ugandans, Selina Navenda. Okay, we have to stand up to these heroes, because as of all those people that were presidential material, Honorable Zoe Bakoko has mentioned, they are not with us for a reason. The reason was to take them out of the picture, forget about them. So, it is imperative that we keep them alive. Yes. Every single day, everywhere we are to speak what they stood for. Okay? Because they are not forgotten. They are our heroes. So we are to keep their names alive. And Miss Brenda, some of them, they are no longer with us. Selina is gone. all of those people, Honorable Zoe has mentioned, they are gone. Yes. We have casualties. We have people who have been poisoned that they don't know if they will make it through the next day. Honorable Chanjo, Hussein Change is one of those. Honorable Namboze, he's one of them. She fought so hard because of this land-grabbing bill when it was coming into Parliament. When Museveni was giving 5 million shillings to each member of Parliament to bring this bill into law. And she set forth to go teach the Ugandan children that this was wrong, that to tell them what was to come. And for those who are here today, they know Namboze was poisoned, and they know what a great deal of land-grabbing has been here. So, Chanjo, these people, they are our heroes. Some of them, they cannot even come back to the Parliament to perform. But we cannot forget them. Yes. People shot in broad daylight. Haji Karim, where is he? Sechimpi, where are they? This man wakes up every person who shows any kind of potential. Bukenya's son, Miss Brenda, is no longer with us because he was a threat to Muhoozi Kainerugaba. People loved him. He was smart, he was educated, and he has served his country. And to the Museveni's eyes, Professor Bukenya was grooming him to be a potential, and he was, and the people loved him. So he's no longer with us. I'm not going to shy away, Miss Brenda. Yeah. We will mention their name. We will stand up. Now, Kenya Brenda, you remember your sister Selina and what she stood for. Yes. Step up. So, we are to mention these names and we are to energize, because remember, as the professor said, that the law of history, we have to remember what happened, Miss Brenda, to make us strong and to learn and to re-educate us where we've been and where we're going, why things happened. What do we learn from them? That's why people build memorials and everything like that. So our foreign heroes will always bring their name forward, and we need to make that effort. Always, and every day, always. Yes, Miss Brenda.
We have a caller coming in. As soon as we're done with this caller, we'll go to the Honorable Zoe Bakoko. Go ahead, caller. Introduce yourself in and come on in with your question.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brenda and Ms. Bakoko. And this is Kula from California.
Good morning to you.
Morning. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to listen to your program this yesterday. Excuse me. I've been a bit caught up in so many things around here. But I don't know whether most of my points have been introduced. But even then, I still go ahead and congratulate DP on their victory in Luwero, but more so, congratulate all the opposition. Because I think what happened in Luwero was what I call a political litmus paper. For those of you who did some kind of chemistry, you know what a litmus paper is. It's a paper used to test the alkalinity or acidity of the substance. It was a political litmus paper. It showed Museveni that his alkalinity or his acidity is diminishing, is reducing. He doesn't have any more influence now as he used to think. Because to me, Luwero was his very, very, very stronghold. Now to see that people have turned against him, not actually against him, that might be a wrong word, but have seen the light. People in Luwero have seen the lies that Museveni has been telling them since day one, and they have changed their mind. And on that point, I'll congratulate Professor Bukenya. When Bukenya came here, we didn't take him very seriously. We thought maybe it was a trick, but this time he was bold enough to look Museveni into the eye and he told him, "You are a bad man." And because of that, I think I'll cut ties with you. So we said this as well. You know, that shows you that the system is crumbling. If the strongholds are moving from the system, then there's one thing that Ugandans should know, that the system is about to collapse. But anyway, another point I wanted to make is that we shouldn't rejoice so much because of this victory, because it has happened in Bukoto South, it has happened everywhere. Museveni is a manipulator. He knows what is going on. Just like I told my friends before the elections, and some of the people I told may witness, that Museveni may lose on this point. There is something behind it. There's something sinister behind it. Perhaps one thing I should also like to our audience to know that money can buy votes, but unfortunately, it can't buy victory. So Museveni must have spent quite a bit, but people might have eaten his money, as people might say, but they didn't give him the victory that he wanted. So you can use the money, but the people's will is far different from being bought, and that's what Museveni came to realize, or he hasn't. But people like Bukenya, people like Sejusa, I think these are very good examples who show to the entire nation that even if they still believe in the system, not actually, even if they served in the system, they served in the system that they have decided to oppose. They have seen a system. Even Honorable Koko, I think you are among the people that you became like a St. Paul. You have seen the light. So that was a very good sign for the people to know. Now, Museveni's fair stands on two main pillars: a political pillar and a military pillar. Right now, the political pillar is weakening. It is being shaken. There is a tsunami shaking it, and it's becoming weak and weak and weak and weak. But Museveni all along hasn't depended so much on the political pillar because has been able to manipulate it. His main pillar, the one he stands on, is a military pillar. And that's the one now we needed to shake. Because the political pillar is already gone. Now we needed to shake him. We needed to scratch him where he gets his strength. That's when I think Museveni will even stop appearing in public. So, on that note, that's why I call upon all organizations who are in this struggle of shaking Museveni from the point where his strength is, to come together, just like the political pillar has been shaken by the opposition coming together. Irrespective of their differences, I never knew that Honorable Tunu would sit with Mao, would sit with Mugisha Muntu on the same table. But now we've got our common enemy. And I think that's what people in a different kind of struggle of regime change should also do. All organizations opposed to Museveni should copy the example of what happened in the world. We should come together and we should start tackling this guy from his military strength. Because now he's using the police. There was intimidation, though the intimidation did not actually succeed because still he lost. But he's still in the White House. Katumba is still there. I mean, Katumba will not say much about it. He controls the army. He controls the police. Now that's where we need to shake him. This politics is very good, and I thank what people have done. But that doesn't shake him that much, because what happens tomorrow is going to get just like he did with Navenda. Who knows? God forbid, he might do it to any other people. So we need to take that power from him. And that power, that pushes him in the military power. That's what we need to take from him. Therefore, conclusively, I call upon all organizations, the world over, who are opposed to Museveni's regime, to come together. I'm sorry to say this word, perhaps military or use force of any kind to get him. This vote alone, like he said, we are going to vote 1,000 times. It is very good to vote because then that leads us to democracy. He is shaken, I understand, but not as much as he would have been shaken if we had touched him on the very core of his existence. That was my appeal. That was my call to all organizations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your call in. Zoe, we're going to go to you. Please keep in mind that we're down to our last 10 minutes of the program. So we'll let you go with some closing comments and then comment on some of the other things you wanted to share from the professor and the caller that we just had. Go ahead, Zoe.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brenda. Thank you, Kula, and thank you, Professor Mubiru. All the callers who have been calling, all the people who have been listening to this program for 3 hours today, I truly feel humbled, and I think we have accomplished a lot this morning. First of all, I just want to re-echo that for us, Luero depicts that the monopoly of control and the power political power in Uganda does not belong to Museveni anymore. The power of one, the power of unity can determine the outcomes, and that is exactly what has happened this morning. That the people of Luwero and the people of Uganda spoke. And what did they say? They said, Museveni, enough of your lies, and we are not going to be deceived anymore. We are going to tell you exactly what we want and what we believe. And for the opposition, everybody, so UPC, they are represented by Dr. Olaro Tunu, you saw DP by Mao coming into campaign, you saw FDC represented by Mugisa Muntu, you saw the leader of government business in parliament, Wafula Ogutu. All these people went to support NAB Kenya. NAB Kenya has been in parliament. This is not our first election. It was a by-election. And so they knew her. They know her performance. And that is why they stood behind her. Not just to say that we want a person who is in opposition to be elected. No, they have seen her perform in parliament. She has been in parliament. And so for me, I think I'm just happy that all of them, the opposition, came together and they were energized by the presence of the former Vice President, Gilbert Bukenya, coming to join them and campaign for the opposition candidate, who now is the woman member of parliament, again re-elected in the by-election to go back to parliament. And I just want to say that, Museveni cannot say that he is the person responsible for empowering women. That is not true, because I remember in the 6th parliament, we had 2 women who were in parliament. That's Honorable Joyce, who was the member of parliament for Mubende, the woman MP for Mubende, and also Honorable Bitamazire, who was the member of parliament woman for Mpigi. These women, when they were younger, maybe when I was not even in school yet, these women were actually appointed by Obote in his first presidency into the Legico. And so Museveni is not the first person who started bringing women into politics in Uganda. These 2 women, when they were very young, they were in the Legico. And they could tell us the story of how they used to come to West Nile. They went everywhere to mobilize women. And like I think Lawrence said earlier, at the time when we had the conflict in the war in Uganda, when Obote's government fell, actually Miriam Obote was in Nairobi attending a meeting. This is history to show that women have been in that position of directing the politics of the country. Now comes in Museveni with his military might, even more mightier than what Idi Amin had. And so we have Museveni who knows that that politically he has been really bruised. It's not only Professor Bukenya alone. Mbabazi is also cracking the NRM in holes. They are breaking ranks. You have Sejusa, military man who has left NRM, and if you read the articles, there are more military people who have come out after Sejusa came out. They may be smaller and not generals, but they are military people who have been coming. That shows there's also a crack in the military ranks from Museveni. And so right now, Museveni is a frightened man, and a frightened dictator is more dangerous than the one who thinks he's still in control.
Yes.
And so he is not going to make the decisions, the calculated decisions he has been making while shifting in his chair, drinking his cup of milk and saying, I got them here, I got them there, I got them in this one. He is going to make some really, really dangerous decisions to try and counter all these things that are happening. There is already a shake in the military. there is already evidence politically his support has dwindled. If you look at even the presidential elections, in 1996, he was almost 70%. By 2000, he was 10% down. He was in 59. And in the other one, he has been coming down. If you look at the results, he has been coming down 10 points every election. Museveni has been aware that politically his support is dwindling, and his backfall is going to be the military with the few like the ones he has trained under Muhoozi. He is probably going to stage a coup. And I saw an article which was written by Sejusa where he said that he challenged Museveni when he was still in Uganda. Museveni wanted them to stage a coup when he realized that politically he was getting weaker, and he challenged it, and he wrote a letter to Museveni to say, no, that will be a bad idea. And that's when he was not out yet, when he had not run out yet. I saw that article written somewhere. And so Museveni is aware that he is going downhill, and that is it means he's going to be dangerous. And so the opposition needs even to come together more tightly, both abroad and within Uganda and within the region, the entire region, to tie the noose again around Museveni's neck, so that he's not allowed to do more damage to this country. And he has to account. We are going in the new Uganda. The things we are going to do are going to reverse all these things Museveni has done. Trying to control and be vindictive. We are going to make sure that Ugandans feel they are Ugandans and they have a right in Uganda, and their human rights can be protected in Uganda. We are going to make the Ugandans know that health service is their right, education is their right, access to health is their right, and so therefore nobody should deny them that right. And so we, as the new Uganda, are going to ensure that we improve the healthcare services, access to healthcare for everybody in Uganda. We improve the education for everybody in Uganda. And so for me, FUF, FADU, and all other organizations in the diaspora, we cannot be deceived by the Walusingis and the Simwes. We know what is right, and Ugandans know what is right. They can have their paychecks, they can be bribed. The money which should have gone in improving healthcare and also education, and even to reduce poverty in Uganda, can be paid to them to come and deceive Ugandans. We know what is happening in Uganda, and Museveni cannot deceive us anymore. And where is the evidence? The evidence is what happened on Thursday in Luwere, when the community cast their vote. So congratulations.
And on that note, I know, and on that note, I'm going to have to go ahead and close out our program. We have come down to our last minute, and we do have a program that's coming up shortly after us. I want to give a special thanks out to Madam Dorothy, who no matter when she comes in, her voice is heard loud and clear, and we thank her for the compassion that she brings to the table. To the Honor Zoe Bikoko for your service and dedication that you've already given to the people of Uganda, and how important what you share on this program tells us even more today, the importance of getting you back into the new Uganda to help set up and restore it to its beauty. Great news is this. On Wednesday, please join me here on Voice of Uganda Radio for the American Connection. I have been away for a little bit, but you know that I am always working on behalf of the Ugandan people, but I am happy to say that I will be back this Wednesday from 10 to noon. So go out to voiceugandaradio.com if you're not familiar with the time, and look at the scheduling out there. This Wednesday, the American Connection will be back on. The Honorable Zoe Bikoko will join me whenever she can, as well as Madam Dorothy, whenever they can be present and on that show with me. Sometimes they will join in. This Sunday, this Wednesday on the American Connection, we will be talking about Sam Kutesa and the American view on him in the UN sitting as president of the assembly there at the United Nations Assembly General Assembly that's coming up. So this Wednesday from 10 a.m. to noon American time, please join me for that program. I think it will rerun on Thursday. I'm not sure. I know that it will be uploaded into iTunes for you to listen to it any other time that you can. But the American Connection this Wednesday will be the outlook of the senators and those who've spoken out loudly in the United States of America against Sam Kutesa sitting as president of the UN Assembly this year. God bless you all. Thank you so much for being a part of this program. Even though it was 3 hours long, we held our audience, and we're so thankful that you were a part of it. Thank you so much for allowing me, Miss Brenda, to be a part of the struggle with you for a better and a new Uganda. God bless all of you on this Sunday. In the rest of your day. Thank you so much. This has been Miss Brenda, the Honorable Zoe Bakoko, and Madam Dorothy here on Voice Uganda Radio for Freedom at Hand.